Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an all-new TAETRO Talks live call-in show today. That's right. As some of you may know, sometimes we have guests on this show from all over the music industry. We've had guests who are doing 343 Pro sessions, like DJs and producers from all around the world, techno artists. We've had content creators like Sanjay C, Rachel K. Collier, and other amazing folks. And then other times, you, yes, you in the audience are the guest. And you have the ability to call in and we'll chat about all sorts of music production, home studio related topics. Today, my title is supposed to incite some emotion and really make you think about what you are doing to learn music production. Are you actually learning music production, or are you pretending to learn music production? Just a question to ask yourself. I'll get more into what I kind of mean by that. But yes, welcome. Thank you all for being here. I want to say, first of all, shout out to the members. I see some of you in chat. Enigmatic Onion, Drunk Bishop, Uric, Sam, Taylor Deemer, Samuel Messiah, Rev Sabes, hello, Rasheen, STK. Thank you so much. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Welcome to the stream. And then welcome everybody else in between. The Music Man, Neil, Algian. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Ray is here. Hello, Ray. Thaddeus, I should say. Mike, welcome. Ray Calvin, No Lake, Shazam. Who did I miss? Josh Cook. Hello. And I already see people joining in the waiting room, which is amazing. Pine Cones, Kyle Gray Young is here. I always lose track of chat. Mark, Patrick, Phoenix S, Detective Yitzi, Chakra, Ateli T, Lorenzo. Hello, everybody. Hey, my mom's in the chat too. That means the plane has Wi-Fi. Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to have you here. Like I said at the top of the show, it's a call-in show, which means you can literally call into the show and we will chat live. Now, how does that work? It works with Zoom. So a lot of us have grown accustomed to using Zoom lately. Oh, hi, Liam. A lot of us have grown accustomed to using Zoom lately. And it's actually very low pressure because it's not video. It's not like you have to show your face to the stream. It's just audio. So we just chat. If you're nervous, don't worry. Listen to a couple calls first, then call in. You use the link that will get posted in chat periodically. Like I'm going to drop it in right now. And you get put into a waiting room. So it's not like you click the link and you immediately get put on stream. You have some time. I'll make it kind of known when I am going to bring you into the stream. And it's a good time. So when you do call in, make sure that you mute the stream. Make sure that you're listening through Zoom because you're going to hear me talk through Zoom, not through the stream, or else it'll double audio on you. It'll be delayed. And make sure you have your proper mic set up, like your just computer built-in mic so that I can actually hear you. And that is usually in like one of the corners of Zoom where you can set your input and output device. But yes, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. As many of you know, this is a production of 343 TV, which 343 TV airs several times a week. Tuesdays, obviously, we're here with TAETRO Talks. Wednesdays, we are in with Justin or Lewis Beck, who is a Beatport charting producer. He does all kinds of cool things. Last week, he did myth busting, like music production myth busting, which I think is very insightful. And I believe tomorrow he's doing time-based effects. And then on Fridays, we've got the amazing Abe Duque, who has been building tracks from scratch, from the ground up, taking on different genres, working in different DAWs, Ableton Live, Bitwig. So first he goes from the inception of the track and then goes into the arrangement and finishing, which I think is really amazing because Abe has a ton of experience making tracks and has a lot of really, really intense technical knowledge. And then on Saturdays, we have John Selway, who is this techno legend. He's got his Selway Techno Saturdays where he usually brings on a guest that helps him talk through different aspects of techno music and electronic music. So 343 TV is the place to be. We just recently surpassed 10,000 subscribers on the 343 Labs YouTube channel. So please, if you haven't yet, go subscribe to that. But thank you all for helping us pass that milestone. Because I'm live on my channel and on 343 Labs YouTube channel. And it looks like my chats are not mixing, but I am looking at my own chat, and maybe I can get the 343 Labs chat on my screen too. But hello, Diana, I'm well. Thank you so much for asking. Oh, Nam, hello, welcome. I'm so glad you've made it. It's okay if you miss a lot. Sometimes life is busy. Diana, how are you? Did I ask you that back? Kirky Beats is here. Wow, the whole party. Max Wild himself. Can you believe it? The man, the myth, the legend, the one who started it all with 343 Labs. Yeah, what are you guys thinking about for summer, by the way, too? Because I know the situation is changing. Maybe people can travel a little bit more. For me, I know my family is all vaccinated now. And I actually have my parents visiting here a little bit more. Oh, I'm going to bring up 343 Labs chat on my screen. So yeah, my family's able to visit, but I'm wondering how you guys are going to spend your summer, if you have any like courses or programs you're going to join, because 343 Labs does have summer courses, which of course you can find out more information about on the link in the description, both virtual and in person, I believe. So there's options for everybody. I want to take a minute and say hello to the 343 Labs chat. Zaire, Deep Chan, Powell, Kai, and Enigmatic Onion. You're in both chats. Amazing. But hey, before I start taking the calls, and I see a bunch of you in the waiting room, and it has been a long time since we've done a proper call-in show. So what I want to do, is this the right chat? Did my chat not refresh today? I think it did not. Maybe it did. Oh yeah, it did. So I want to take a lot of calls today. So the waiting room is already filling up, but please make sure you get in the waiting room and just be patient. Don't feel like you're like sitting in the waiting room for so long and I'm not going to get to your call. I'll make it very clear if we get to a point where I will not be able to take more calls, but we're probably going to go longer for an hour today if previous shows have proved to be a marker of how long it actually takes to get through this. So thank you, everybody. Jump in that waiting room when you can. Nightbot will post the link occasionally. I'll post the link occasionally. I'm going to post it in both chats right now. And, of course, you can call in and we can chat about different things. Usually we lean less towards the technical side of things. So don't call in and ask, like, what audio interface I should buy. It's just like you can do the research on that. But this is more about process, workflow, nitty gritty, that kind of thing. So how long is the stream going to take? Isn't Ableton's simpler webinar starting in less than an hour? Good question, Tommy. I don't know. Maybe you'll have to open up 2 streams in one screen. But please allow me to wax poetic on this topic of, are you pretending to learn music production? This has been very much on my mind lately because I've been doing a lot of live streams and there's been a lot of live interaction, which is so different than getting a comment on a YouTube video. So really able to dive deep into what people are asking and call people out if they're asking something that isn't necessarily relevant to their moment in their music production journey. And I think a lot of people actually lull themselves into believing they are learning how to produce music in a couple different ways. Obviously, we all consume tutorials. You've probably watched some of my tutorials. You've probably watched some of the great tutorials that are on the 343 Labs channel. But when you watch those tutorials, what do you actually do? Let me know in chat. When you watch a tutorial, do you have your DAW open right next to the tutorial? And do you start like moving the knobs when they move the knobs? Or do you sit like with a notebook? Sometimes I work like that with a notebook and I take notes. Or do you just passively consume the tutorials and then hope that through osmosis or something, the next time you open your DAW, you'll kind of remember? Because there's this weird, on YouTube, which is a great platform, that's what we're on right now. But what happens is we use YouTube for entertainment and we use YouTube to learn. So it becomes this weird like infotainment kind of Venn diagram where stuff in the middle that can actually be entertaining and help you learn gets lost in some of the stuff that we just use for entertainment. So we have to draw clear lines for ourselves, because let's say you enrolled in a college program. Let's say you enrolled in an amazing 343 Labs music production course. If you went to that course, whatever it is, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, you would bring a notebook. you would bring your DAW. There would be an active project you were working on to show that you are applying the lessons that you learned in the class, right? But when we're trying to teach ourselves, when we're trying to do a little self-education at home, watching YouTube tutorials, we don't have that same, not pressure, but that we don't have that same dynamic of like, oh, let me sit here and take, nobody's telling you, sit here, take notes. Nobody is telling you or asking you, hey, how did you apply this technique that I just showed you? It's really up to you and your own self-discipline. So one way that we trick ourselves into thinking that we're learning music production, one way that we pretend to learn music production is by just passively watching tutorials. Like, sure, maybe you'll pick up a couple concepts here and there. You watch a tutorial at night, in the morning, you go, oh yeah, what did that person say again? Scratch your head. Oh yeah, they turned this knob, they turned that knob, and it sounded good. And then you lose something there. So you want to make sure you're actively learning in the same way you would in a classroom, because you have the ability to do that with all the free information that's out there on YouTube. But it just comes down to it comes down to your own self-discipline. I keep coming back to that, self-discipline. So the other way, and this is something, so that's infotainment. That's one way we pretend to learn. The other thing that I've been thinking a lot about is you all know, as you come to the streams and you all see people ask questions and you all ask questions about yourself and you see how I react to different questions. Some questions are really great questions. And then other questions are just kind of, I can't imagine what the answer to that question would be. And I also can't imagine what would make a person ask that question. Or I can automatically tell that it's not the actual question they want to ask. You all kind of getting a feel for that as we do these streams more and more. And the reason behind that is because a lot of the times when you're just starting out, especially for beginners, you have so many questions. You have so many things you want to do. You have so many things you want to pursue. But you don't actually know the language and the vocabulary around it to ask the question that you actually want to ask. And that's hard as a beginner. So what do we do? Because so many beginners jump in the chat and ask a question that I just don't understand. And if I don't understand the question, or like, you know, any producer, any well-known established producer, if you can't ask the question that the person's going to understand, then something's missing, because there's no way that you as a beginner are asking a question to somebody out there who's maybe a pro. If they don't understand your question, something's broken there, right? So what do we do? I think people jump too hard on asking a bunch of questions or going in to a live stream or going into a tutorial with a question already in mind. And that's great. You know, we put out a video last week on the 343 Labs channel about compressing your kick. So if you had the very specific question of when should I compress my kick, when should I not compress my kick, and how should I do it, what settings should I use, etc., that's the perfect video for you. But if there are some more general music making questions that you have, I would just eliminate the questions from your head entirely and just watch somebody work and absorb and forget you had a question. Because we all remember that kid in class who, before the teacher even gave the instructions, even gave the directions, would raise their hand. And what does the teacher do? The teacher always dunks on that kid and says, why are you raising your hand if I didn't even give the directions yet? I'm going to answer your question through what I'm about to say. But people like that have the question going in to the content, what it is you're raising your hand to ask a question that's about to get answered, but all you're thinking about is your question. You're not actually hearing what's coming out of the instructor's mouth that's actually going to answer your question. So I think people get very caught up in that. And you see this as we go on different streams. I'll literally be going through the music making process, arrangement process, a little bit of mixing, a little bit of making melodies, and people will jump right in and ask the question as I'm demonstrating the thing they're asking the question about. Why? I think people are eager to learn, eager to understand different musical concepts, but I think that actually gets in the way of learning sometimes. I think questions are great. Obviously, you should be making sure you're asking the right questions, diving deeper, double clicking into a concept, really. But for beginners, so much of what you should be doing is just absorbing. And then maybe after a little bit of time of just that absorption, now you understand the language. Now you can articulate more specific questions. And that's kind of how it goes. That's what I think. Absorb instead of jumping to ask a question. Of course, we'll have specific questions down the line, and that's not who the person I'm talking to. The people I'm talking to are the ones who show up and just immediately ask a question instead of like getting a vibe for what's happening and absorbing what's happening on screen. Max Wild asks a great question in chat. What is the 343 Labs giveaway this week? And what do you know? The 343 Labs giveaway this week, which I will also post in my chat, because I know it's complicated posting links on Instagram. I mean on YouTube. But that can't be the link. So we do giveaways every week on 343 TV. And this week, we are going to be doing a $200 Ableton voucher, which is useful for those of you who want to pick up, say, a pack, or those of you who want to upgrade live, different things like that. I'm going to post the link right now in the chat, which I had to copy and paste it a bunch, but there you go. There's a link for you all if you want to at least jump into the chat. And who's trolling me a little bit? Somebody is saying... Can someone in chat post the membership link? The membership link is in the bottom. Just click join. Which MIDI controller should I get, says Kyle Gray Young. Yes. I see people spamming spin, spin, spin. Yes, but we cannot do fake spins. But nonetheless, and then we're going to jump into the calls because I see you all there in the waiting room and I want to get into it. But does that all make sense about pretending to learn music production? Like literally, like be honest with yourself. And if you want to just consume stuff for entertainment, absolutely go and do that. If you are just doing this as some type of hobby, you don't want to take it too seriously, more power to you. But I want to know if that resonates with anybody about pretending to learn music production. And how can we help each other? How can we help our friends who we think are kind of like pretending to learn something but aren't? Like, can we ask our friends questions to kind of point them in the right direction? All right, you want to see the wheel. So we invented this new wheel because we get a lot of questions about what MIDI controller should I buy. So what happens is when a person seriously joins the chat and asks that question and doesn't know the vibe, instead of us having to give any explanation at all about the thing that has been covered across 573 YouTube videos, comparing and contrasting different MIDI controllers, we devised this wheel situation where folks can... Actually, what happens is somebody asks the sacred question. You all spam spin in the chat, so I see it. And then we take a moment and we spin the wheel for them. And they are legally obligated to purchase that MIDI controller that the wheel lands on. Legally obligated, chat. And that's the wheel of MIDI. So as we go through today, if somebody does ask that question, please spam spin in the chat. Maybe an emote is coming soon. And it's just always a good time. You know how it goes. Where did I get the glowing skull? Neon MFG. Yes. You legally have to buy it. Not only do you legally have to buy the thing that it lands on, but you have to use my Amazon affiliate link. Legally obligated. So what do you say? We're like 20 minutes into the show. We haven't taken a single call yet. What am I doing? So a lot of you are in chat, but a fraction of you are in the call waiting room, which kind of, if I'm being honest, is cringe because you all should be calling in and we should be having nice productive chats. Am I wrong? And it comes down to it. The question is, are you going to call in? And you have two choices. Yes or yes is what I like to say. So... let's get into calls. I guess I should pause my background music. This is your time. This is your moment. But here we go. I see the waiting room. Now the waiting room gets put into a random order, but I'll try my best to take this in the order that it's in right now. I got Jacob Marino in the chat. So Jacob, you're coming in now. We're going to get you on the call, and I'm going to make sure my volume is up. You all can let me know about the levels between the caller versus me. It'd be great if they were equal levels, of course. Jacob Marino, just make sure you unmute your mic and you will be on the air. Hello, Jacob.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Loud and clear. Thank you so much for calling in. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am doing pretty well. Thank you so much for calling in. Where are you calling in from today?
The great hot city of Houston.
Houston. It's hot there?
Oh yeah, it's one day it's 80 degrees, one day it's 60, one day, but most of the time since summer's coming up, it's gonna be a nice 90 for a couple months.
Got it. Hey, Jacob, the crazy thing is, as soon as you just called in, somebody asked the sacred question in chat. So we have to spin the wheel. Are you down for that? We spin the wheel before we get into your question?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Amir wrote in the chat and said, I've been looking around recently. I'm stuck between the Kai and the M audio. What do you think I should get? Well, Amir, there's no M audio on this wheel. However, there is a Kai on this wheel. So Amir, just a reminder that you are obligated to buy the MIDI controller that this lands on. Jacob, are you ready? Tell me when I should spin.
Go ahead.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh, and what do you know? Luckily for Amir, the wheel has landed on the Akai MPK Mini. Amir, we have decided for you. Akai MPK Mini, this is the controller you should get. The decision has been made. What a lucky choice, because that was one of the contenders. It would have been a shame if he had gotten the cat piano. Or would it have been a blessing? I don't know. But Jacob, thank you so much for calling in. Let's get into your question. Sorry to take time for the wheel spin.
No, that's all right. So basically what I've been wanting to ask is I've been like kind of getting into this for the past year. Basically, I'm the quarantine student.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people are in the same boat too.
Yeah, which is kind of good. It's good to like learn with people.
Totally.
At the same time, everybody's kind of doing it. But basically, I've pretty much got everything I need to start making music. I have everything. I think more for me is what I'm trying to, and like when I see your studio, I see like you have a lot of things that I guess I know. Like I see the alien stuff, I see the skull, I see the Pokemon, that stuff that you like, and so I guess like my question is, I know like designing your studio is very what you like, it's what inspires you, and I guess like any tips or like anything that you like recommend like to be able to build that kind of vibe and kind of things that would helps your vibe in making music. And
totally, the thing about vibe, the whole purpose of like the vibe and the aesthetic of a studio, because it's really easy to, I mean, some people might write it off and say, oh, your aesthetic doesn't matter, your gear matters, like whatever, who cares how your studio looks, and there's some validity to that. But in being a home studio music producer, the only thing you have that's pushing you to make music, I talked about at the beginning, is yourself and your self-discipline and your motivation and what pushes you to actually like sit down and make a track. So I want to make myself, I want to like open up the opportunity to motivation at any given avenue. So one of those opportunities for motivation is, man, my little home studio setup looks dope. I really want to sit there and like chill in it, right? So like that's the like utility behind having a spot that's cool looking, because you actually want to be there and you want to share what it looks like and you want to be working in it and you feel good working in it because it's aesthetically pleasing, I guess. But tips around like designing the aesthetic. When I designed this room that I'm in, and I'm going to cut to the wide shot on the stream, I when I moved into this place, I knew I was going to have this very small room that was just for content. And I used actually like Pinterest as like a reference board around the aesthetic. And this is going into the nitty gritty. Maybe this is beyond what some people are actually willing to invest in. But, I go on Pinterest, I find a bunch of different studios. Yesterday was Alien Day and I posted a picture of the mother like ship, because that was a real inspiration point. And then if anybody's seen like Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, like Kylo Ren's chambers are like all white. And I was really inspired by that because I was like, oh, I wear black a lot, or a lot of my gear is black, so it will stand out against the white. And I think that was perfect. So like I collected a bunch of inspiration, and then what I did was I just looked for budget stuff on Amazon that would help me kind of build that aesthetic on a budget. And it comes down to like shelves and, the different wall panels that I have, things like that. But also like, man, if I love something like Pokemon and I can get little figures and stuff just to surround myself, it just like makes me excited to sit down and be surrounded by things. I
have like a lot of Star Wars and like, very like, I'm very like, I wouldn't say like I'm like an 80s vibe person, but like I like a lot of like, that retro,
For sure.
old school, then I
And
think that's what I'm trying to go for maybe.
yeah, and lighting plays a big role too. So like you guys know I have this crazy lighting setup in here because it's like a content studio too, right? Like I need lighting specifically to be on camera. But if those of you who don't really care about that much, just want cool lighting, like I have these cool lights that I control with my phone that can be any different color. Like I've got that backsplash light that can be any different color, the neon light. So like lighting, don't sleep on lighting because lighting can transform a space in a big way. Of course, you can add stuff to a space. Of my philosophy is I don't want things to be too cluttered, even though like you see what I have here, but everything kind of has its place. I don't want things to be too cluttered, but lighting is a way to totally transform a space without adding more stuff. So I think lighting plays a big role. Whether you get some of those like Philips Hue bulbs or something. But if you sit in this room that's all purple, that's all red, it's all your favorite color, you feel like you're on a spaceship. You feel like you're transported from the world. And, we all have our daily lives where we're feeling some type of stress or we have work or whatever. And whatever can help us like escape. Like it's a bit surreal, right? To transform a room with lighting and you want to feel transported. And that's kind of my philosophy around like building these home studio spaces that kind of make you forget about all your stresses and transport you to like another place, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's important because for me, with quarantine and everything, I have, to do. I also use my home studio like workspace as also my school desk,
Yeah.
which kind of is like I just want to be able, flip a switch and it goes from school mode or work mode to music and like you said, like just forget about all the busy stuff, just
Absolutely.
flip your mind, and that's something I've been trying to get advice and look at to see what can make me, inspired with just, a flip of a switch.
Yeah, and do what makes you feel good. I mean, it's more and more important now with quarantine and being home, and people's home studios are probably getting cooler and cooler because we spent so much time at home, but it is important. And isn't that a lot more convenient than having to go to some studio somewhere? Like it's just way more convenient. And like, okay, if you're struggling with motivation to even like make music or whatever, like it's one thing to just walk over to your desk, but it's a whole nother thing if you got to go drive somewhere, or if you got to go like do a 10-minute walk to a studio or something. So I think home studio music producers are blessed in that way.
Yeah, and you're not paying, X amount of money per hour to record, which is like, I think the best thing that everybody's, getting benefited from.
Totally. Jacob, that was a great call. Like, keep us posted, and I would love to see pictures of how the home studio develops.
All right. Thank you so much for taking my call. It's good finally talking to you somewhat virtual.
Yeah, I know. It was good talking to you as well. Hope we do it again in the future.
All right. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Chat, good call. But hey, let's not sleep on the new member. Kid Apple Borg, thank you for becoming a huge supporter. I've got to hold that button down. Thank you for becoming a huge supporter, Kid Apple Borg. Kid Apple Borg just hit the join button, became a member at the huge supporter level, which first and foremost gets you 10% off controlfreeclub.com, which is my lifestyle and apparel brand. It gets you a free sample pack, my space sample pack. It gets you access to members-only live streams, which we'll be doing sometime next week. And as sample packs come out, if you stay a member, when the next sample pack comes out, you will get that one for free as well. So get ready. We got to go through these calls. We got to do some more calls because we got a lot to take. Let's get Mike here in the chat. Mike? Yes. All right, we got it. I won't say last names, I guess. Anyone else in class right now, says Lil Ransom? Lil Ransom, are you avoiding your class right now by being in the stream? Mike, I'm going to make sure you select your audio input device in the bottom left-hand corner, because right now you're showing no mic, but we'll give you a couple minutes here while I jump back into chat and say hello. Rare Vinyl Trips on the 343 channel says, loved your 808 video. Thank you. Please bring more. Ableton Noob here. Good to know. We got you. Shravan Dude says, should I buy MIDI keyboard or synthesizer? Two totally different things, my friend. If you're having that question, you don't really know what you want to do. Not in class, but at my full-time job, says Lorenzo. Nice. People are slacking off with the stream. All right, Mike, I'm going to throw you back in the waiting room. And if you can figure out your mic situation. Mike figures out the mic situation. I will bring you back in. But next up, let me grab Christopher from the waiting room. Hi, Christopher.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Arkansas.
Awesome. I don't think I've ever spoken to somebody from Arkansas.
Yeah, me neither, man. I actually just moved here, so
Amazing. Anything having just moved to Arkansas, any notable things about living in Arkansas you can share?
The weather is way better from where I was at. I was in the southeast United States, so it's much, much better here. Less humidity. People are very, very friendly. I love it, man. I love it so far. Getting to spend a lot more time doing music production, which is cool, which I'm very, very excited to talk to you. I've watched pretty much all of your videos.
All of them? Well, yeah.
I've watched as many as I possibly can.
That's amazing. Thank you for that.
But what you said earlier where you were saying, it's like you were taking a class in person. You can't just watch these videos as a form of entertainment.
Yes.
You have to kind of actually put it into practice. And one thing that I'm struggling with is sound selection.
Totally.
A lot of times when I watch streams or even some of your videos, I think that you guys have done it so much that it's kind of automatic which sounds to pick and which packs to go with. Whereas somebody like me who just recently bought maybe 12 to 18 months ago Ableton, I'm struggling to get my tracks to sound pro quality. And a lot of what I've heard is it's more about sound selection than mixing and mastering. So how is it that you go about figuring out which sounds to pick, which packs to use? Because there's an immense amount of them on the internet.
Yeah, that is a great question, because I think you hit it on the head, where it comes with time and like doing it so much. And then like if you watch any of these live streams that I do sometimes, and other people in the chat can attest to this, sometimes I'm jumping into Splice and I'm using like the same, like if I'm making a lo-fi beat, I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to use this pack probably, and then maybe I'll search around and find a couple other things. But my main like bread and butter samples, like I kind of have an idea of my library. But I had this moment too, maybe not even a year or 2 years ago, where I was not feeling like not that we want our music to fit in a box, but there is something to say about sound selection and like actually making the kind of music you are trying to make. Like you can sit down and say, I want to make a trap beat. But if you aren't being like super deliberate about the sounds that you're picking, at the end result may not sound like a trap beat. Just surely based on the sound selection, purely based on the sound selection. And you might have all the right musical ideas. You might be like, oh yeah, trap music, they have this like a minor melody here. They've got some like low deep bass here. They've got these kind of drums, and you might get close, but it just might sound like something is missing, or this just isn't hitting. So what I tried to do to kind of solve that problem was I just started paying very, very close attention to the music that I was listening to, or like the music that I was listening to that is also the music that I'm trying to make. And then I started making sure that I had reference songs in my head. Like, oh, I want to make a song that's kind of this vibe. And but like what I was talking about at the top about like pretending to learn and like actively consuming content that you're learning, the same thing goes for listening to music, because listening to music is the same exact thing. Music at its base form is a form of entertainment, and we consume it that way a lot of the times. But now that we're producers and we're trying to make that music, we actually have to switch our brains and start actively listening to that music and paying attention to what's going on. And that can help you understand mixing better, but it can definitely help you understand sound selection, because especially at the beginner level, what we often do is we just stack layers on layers on layers on layers, because we think if we just keep adding more, like that's what the pros do, right? The pros have these super complicated productions, and like I gotta keep adding layers. But if you really listen to a lot of contemporary stuff, like especially the stuff that I'm trying to make, like pop music, trap music, even some lo-fi beats, it's so simple. And sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves and we feel like we're not doing enough, so we fall into that trap of adding and adding and adding. But if go ahead.
And that's what's funny is I was actually watching Kenny Beats' breakdown of Foot Fungus, that song Foot Fungus.
Yeah.
And I was shocked at how simple it was. And I think that's where this kind of started my thought process of, maybe it's more sound selection than, hey, let's put, 150 tracks on
Right.
this,
Totally.
and we'll fix it in post. So yeah, that makes sense. So more so listening to it with a critical ear then when you're doing this stuff versus I guess just going through one at a time and trying to pick something that'll work.
Exactly. And it's like, it doesn't have to be random. Like a tactile thing that you can do is go listen to 5 tracks that you're like, wow, I really wish I produced these tracks, and sit down with a notebook and literally just write it out by section, write it out however, but write out every single sound that you hear. Like, okay, that core synth is like they got like that plucked arpeggiated synth in the beginning. They got an 808 bass, but the 808 bass is super distorted and it has a glide. Boom, write that down. When you zoom in on that level and really analyze the sounds of the music that you love, then when you sit down to make a project, yes, you're sitting down to a blank, empty project folder, but you have a direction to go, and you're not like, what sound? I guess this, like scrolling through presets saying, this sound sounds good, I guess. But the other unlock too is, so in addition to that, yes, examine the music that you love, pick out the exact sounds that they're using, try to describe them as best you can, and then try to emulate that in your productions and try to make an amalgamation of like all the sounds that you love. But the other thing too is, like, we are fortunate enough to live in this world where there are very smart sound designers out there and very smart sample creators out there that literally will make packs based on the artists we love, or they make presets based on the artists that we love. And I've been diving more and more into that lately because I am not interested in sound design. Maybe some people out there are interested in sound design, in which case maybe they'd take the 343 Lab sound design course. But I want to just sit here and make music. So how do I avoid most of the heavy lifting of sound design? Well, if I want to make a pack that sounds like Ariana Grande, or if I want to make a track that sounds like Ariana Grande, guess what? There's a Serum preset pack that I use that has a bunch of sounds that are like similar to sounds you can hear on an Ariana Grande record. Same thing with samples. If I want to make like a banging, Southern trap beat or something like that, or even like an LA style, like laid back, chill hip hop kind of beat. Guess what? There's packs for that on Splice or on whatever sample library you may use. So like you can limit yourself by that as well. Like, don't feel like you have to do all the heavy lifting, especially like the sounds that come in Ableton Live are fine. But with Peace and Love, I don't really use many of the built-in sounds with Ableton Live. But I've seen genius masters like John Selway do sound design, and they can make any sound from any synth that they want. Do I want to spend my time doing that? Not in this moment. Maybe someday. But
okay.
But yeah, it's examining the music that you love and really getting zoomed in on what those sounds are. And then, like, if you're not down to like sit there and spend a long time on sound design, find the preset packs that are in the realm that you want to be in. Find the sample packs that are in the realm you want to be in and limit yourself to those. Yes, your artistic creative touch will be when you say, oh, this sounds pretty good, but I think I want to mix it up and maybe add a violin on top of this, or maybe make it sound a little more like whatever. Like, obviously put your spin on things, but you can learn a lot just from like trying to emulate a specific style. And that is how you will get better at sound selection. Like, take all the work out of it, like the work has kind of been done. If you want to make a kind of music that's being made already, people have already made the decision on sound selection. Not to say that we can't make our own sound selection and put our own spin on it, of course, but like we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time,
Okay. Yeah, that all makes sense. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the time and what you're doing with YouTube. I mean, it's helping
That's good
thousands
to know.
of people get into it, man. So thank you for what you do, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Enjoy Arkansas.
Thank you. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon, man. Have a good one.
Peace out. Have a good one. Good call. Arturo, you said sadly not enough music tutorials. How can you say that? Maybe I missed the context. There's plenty of music production tutorials out there. That's what I think. I'm just diving into chat a little bit because I know I might have missed some points. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't called in yet and gotten that waiting room, maybe you were a little nervous at first, but now you've got the vibe of like how the call-ins work. maybe you want to jump in. Mexican Hippie says, boy, One Disc Pack is awesome. I agree. Like when I was trying to make like when I was learning more about making trap beats, like using his pack, especially the hi-hat loops and stuff, absolutely fantastic. And Rare Vinyl Trips says, do you guys do Ableton online courses? And we absolutely do. So 343 Labs has courses in Ableton Live and in Logic. Not only that, but they're at all 3 levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So if you feel like you're a little bit beyond the beginner level, you want to jump into intermediate, or you can like take a master course and like take all 3 and get the whole thing over a longer amount of time. But yes, Rare Vinyl Trips, I would definitely recommend it. Because we're also an Ableton Certified Training Center, because we've got a bunch of Ableton Certified trainers on staff, which is really amazing. Let me get Lorenzo in here. Lorenzo. Sam Foley says, coming from a guitar player, I would 100% learn piano first. Oh, you guys talking about what? Yeah, I think just it's easier to learn with a keyboard because that's a more accessible tool. Lorenzo, hello, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you so much for calling in today.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I'm actually at my full-time job right now. Just have a little bit of free time.
Awesome.
But
what do you do for work, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I work at Amazon, so we're dealing with, packages and all that. We're actually dealing with that Scout robot that delivers the packages. We're still doing tests and all that.
Whoa.
But right now we're just waiting for the packages to get delivered. So
That's
I'm just
amazing.
sitting in my car right now. Yeah.
Wait, so you're out there with the robot and the robot is delivering packages?
Yeah, we're actually like kind of babysitting the robot because we're trying to make it, do its thing on its own. But right now it still has a lot of problems. So right now we're in field.
That's a cool job. It sounds cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Babysitting
the
robot. And pretty soon the robot will be babysitting you.
Exactly. Kind of scary, but yep, cool.
Hey, thanks for calling in. What did you want to talk about today?
Yeah, so real quick, this one question I have, my tinnitus is kind of getting worse and it's kind of getting scary.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and no, it's okay. I feel like because I was looking at like treatments and all that, and there's not much, especially for hearing, and I feel like as a musician, that's probably one of the scariest things to have, hearing problems. But I just wanted to ask you if I just bought these KRK studio monitors.
Nice.
I've been producing with headphones ever since I started, like around during the Beatober of the last one.
Nice.
And I've been playing the drums too for years, and I feel like all those, the combination of all those for years have been damaging my ears. But I just wanted to ask you if there's like a benefit of using studio monitors versus using headphones, because obviously headphones are like directly, attached to your head, directly to your ears. So I just wanted to, know your insight about that.
For sure. I'll first say, like, everybody out there, please protect your ears as much as possible. Don't listen at loud volumes for long amounts of time. I feel like more people are probably like just more prone to it, because what I know is I came from rock music kind of background, like playing in bands, and we were not protecting our ears at all. We were playing in very loud environments. So I feel like I got lucky on that front. I've had occasional like just intermittent tinnitus, but nothing like long term. So hope you are able to find like a treatment for it, and good luck with that. But the question about speakers versus headphones, it's interesting. Every person that I've interviewed on here, or not every, but most of them, a lot of them that are really into like the nitty gritty of like mixing. And we've had Ariel Borjo, who's like a Grammy award winning, Grammy nominated music mix engineer. He talked about using headphones and like using headphones a lot. And I've talked to a couple other people that are either nobody has said you got to use speakers or you got to use headphones. Everybody's kind of mentality seems to be you got to just learn what you're listening on. And I think that is definitely what it comes down to. I do a lot in headphones. Obviously, I'm here doing live streams and I have to wear headphones because of bleed. So like it doesn't bleed through to the mic audio, etc. And I'm getting better at mixing via headphones. But what I'll say is what works best for me is the combination of both. So I will a lot of the times be creating usually through headphones. And then, but I would never just release a track, me personally, I would never release a track that I just worked on one pair of headphones. My mixing process is more like get a first mix done, export it out, get it on Google Drive, and then I go and listen to it across a bunch of different devices. Like I have KRK monitors as well. I have the 5-inch ones. I have those over in my bedroom set up, and I'll go take the mix and go listen to it over there so I can hear the differences between the headphones as well as the speakers. But then I'll also take it in my car and I'll listen to it in my car. I'll listen to it in my Apple AirPods. So working, like however you work, whatever you're working on most, like for me, it's headphones. For you, maybe it's monitors. You just learn those. And what you end up learning is that like, maybe there's stuff you can't hear. Like in my Rocket 5s, I can't really hear a lot of sub frequencies, like a ton, obviously, because I don't have a subwoofer. But I know when I go into my car that if I overdrove the sub frequencies, it's just going to like destroy the speakers and I'm not going to be able to hear anything besides the sub frequencies. So I've learned to mix sub frequencies like 808s and stuff appropriately on those Rocket 5s, even though I can't really hear them. I've just kind of learned like what setting they go at. And that all comes down to like just learning what you're listening on. So I don't think it's either or. I think it's both, but I think you can get a lot done in headphones more than some people think. But like I said, you know what's going to happen at the end of the day? You're going to put out a track and people are going to go listen to it on whatever they're going to listen to it on. Some mom out in rural Colorado is going to listen to it on a Bluetooth speaker that her sister got her for Christmas, and it cost $29.99 on Home Shopping Network, you know, and who knows the sound quality of whatever that speaker is. And then some people are going to listen to it on their AirPods. They're going to listen to it in their car. They're going to listen to it through their MacBook speakers. So at the end of the day, I check it across all these different cases and realize I just want to get it to sound good across all of them, as good as I can get it to sound across all of them, and realize once it's out in the wild, people are going to be in all kinds of listening environments. So it's out of my hands. But if I can get it to sound good across all of them, and I've learned how to do that in less iterations by mixing on the same pair of headphones or the same pair of speakers, I start to understand the elements of what's going to make it sound good across all of them. So I adapt my mixing process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a good point too of trying it, trying to listen to it from different sources, because like you said, people would listen to it from their phones and all that. But yeah, this is going to be an exciting experience because this is my first time that I'll be producing or mixing with speakers. But I guess in terms of protecting the ears, it's not really headphones versus speakers. It's maybe watching the levels and the frequencies. For sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you know what's great for mixing? Like I've heard it both ways. You can mix. Like obviously we shouldn't be listening at loud volumes, especially in headphones, for long amounts of time. But there's two ways to listen to your mix: at a super loud volume or at a super low volume. And I think the super low volume can be advantageous to people suffering from any kind of hearing issues, because when you listen to your mix at a super low volume, things start to stick out. Like maybe things stick out that shouldn't stick out when you're listening at a low volume. Like oftentimes we mix our leads, or the focal point of the track gets mixed a little bit too loud because we're overcompensating because it's a lead. If you listen to that at a low volume, it'll be like, oh, that's all I hear. And that's like a kind of a red flag when you're listening at a low volume. But if you listen at a low volume and everything sounds kind of mixed appropriately, that's how you know you're kind of getting in the right direction, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Because like when everything's loud, it feels like everything's like, it's hard to, differentiate or distinguish what's loud and what's not, because everything's just blasting.
Absolutely. So like mixing at low volumes, the best thing I can suggest for people suffering with hearing problems. And that's a thing that people should do, even if they don't have hearing problems. It will definitely help your mixes for sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's my question. Thanks a lot for your insight.
Thanks so much for calling in, and good luck with the robot.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one.
Mexican Hippie in the chat says a lot of great producers mixed at super low volumes. An example is Mixed by Ali. Yes, it's a very common thing, and I think it's pretty cool. Oh, we lost Mike, unfortunately. I'm gonna bring in Zaire next. let's get Zaire. Nikhil asked an interesting question. What's the hashtag for this week's track review? I don't have one. Hey, Zaire, how are you? Are you there, Zaire?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh,
you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yes, I can hear you now. Make sure you're listening through Zoom, but not
Yeah. I had to
perfect.
put my headphones on. 1 second.
No problem.
1 second. All right.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from the Chicago area.
Nice. Thanks so much for calling. What did you want to talk about today? Are you still there?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
I've been watching you for a long time, and I just wanted to.
Thank you.
I get some mad feedback.
Yeah, just make sure you
But,
mute the stream and only listen through Zoom.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, my question for you is like, as a new Ableton producer, it's been, a learning curve for me, and I just wanted to know, like, when exactly is like, how should I say it? Like, get comfortable with like the whole process of mixing, and like, because I rap too, I make music and stuff, so it's like I used to like just take YouTube beats and just
Right.
write to them and stuff like that. And now that I'm like starting to produce my own stuff, it's hard to find the sound that I'm looking for, and create like the actual image that I have or vision that I have in my head. And it's like it gets kind of, it's like a huge learning curve,
Absolutely. And it of course it is, right? Because you're just learning the software, and it's an intense, like, music production in general is like just a lot to learn. And then especially since probably a lot of what you listen to is made by people that produce in like big studios or that release on big record labels, so they have huge budgets. So we start comparing like our productions to the productions of people with huge budgets, which is kind of a trap to fall in. But well, there's nothing wrong with what's happening for you in the learning curve right now. That's what I'll say. And this is a constant battle that I think all of us have as music producers and artists. I mean, I definitely have it when I listen to my tracks against tracks that I really like. I'm like, the reality check I give myself is like, yes, of course, it's not going to sound like right on there with a high budget record, but I'm going to get it as good as I can get, and I'm going to be kind of happy and proud about getting it as close as I can get, and then getting better and better every time. And it's just a lot of it is putting the time in, and what you're experiencing right now is something you are going to experience for your entire music career. And it's you kind of articulated already, but it's the vision you have for your work, like what you hear in your head, versus your skill. And right now, the gap between your skill and the vision, there's kind of a decent gap there. So if you really want to get those in line, what you have to really do is dive into skill building. And whether that's taking a course, whether that's really diving into tutorials and really, really focusing on skill building, and just allowing yourself, having that nice vision in your head, but allowing yourself to build skills and have the reality check of, okay, it's not going to be up to, right now, I'm not going to be able to get to that vision that I have in my head because I'm building my skills. What you should just keep doing is building your skills as you make stuff. Just keep making stuff, and that's the best way to build skills. But like, watch tutorials, take a course, do whatever you got to do to learn the skills, apply it, learn it through application, and then just keep pushing towards that vision, towards that goal. And what'll happen is your skills will gradually build, and you'll get up to your vision. But then as your skills build, the vision for what you want to be able to do, the vision for what you can do, will also grow.
Yeah.
So then
it's like I'm fairly new with like, I just got all the studio equipment. I have the MPK Mini. I've watched the videos and tutorials and stuff about all that. And like, being like, you make a lot of lo-fi stuff, and that stuff like inspires me. I'm like, man, I really love that stuff. I want to make something like that, because I love chill music. I love the vibes and stuff like that. So it's like having those type of energies, and then because I make just I'm a calm person in general, so it's like having the music fit my personality.
Totally.
Which I feel like you kind of have that, like you're so comfortable with what you make, and I'm still trying to find the comfortability to find what I make and stuff.
Yeah, the music becomes an extension of you, right? It's an extension of your personality. It's an extension of who you are as a person, and sometimes it's an extension of like who you want to be, or an extension of like your personality at a given moment. But what I'll say is like I've been making music for a long time, and I don't know what is your musical background. Like, how do you have any formal training in music at all? Like,
yeah, I can play the piano.
Nice.
And so like I do, like I was raised in a church and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
okay. So you have
it's
a decent background.
Yeah, so it's like I understand the concept of music and everything. It's just music that I want to make may be different than what I was growing up to. I love jazz, blues, and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So it's like, how do I modernize that
of course.
feeling,
Yeah, it goes back to kind of what I said to the previous caller. You have to laser focus and really define, like find the music that you love and that you would like to make similar style of, and really laser focus on what do you actually love about that music. And I mean, down to the BPM, down to the sound selection. Oh, it's a piano sample, but it's not just a piano sample. It's a piano sample that's been pitch shifted and sounds like it's going through, it's got a vinyl crackle on it. And it's not a grand piano, it's an upright piano. And it's kind of out of tune. Like you got to get like to that granular level. And that's like, it's so much easier to do that sitting here with a notebook and pen versus sitting in your DAW, because you're still learning the DAW. And you're like going to be confused about certain concepts in the DAW. So like if you're fighting both battles at the same time, you're going to feel a little overwhelmed. So if you can separate out the process as much as possible, you'll find a lot more success when you sit down and going into it. But you have to be okay with knowing that like you are building the skill. No, you're not going to be able to achieve your absolute vision right away. But as you build the skill, you'll get closer and closer and closer. And that is the whole fun of it. If you get addicted to that instead of getting addicted to like trying to make the track that's like the best track you'll ever make, if you just get addicted to the process and building the skill and getting closer and closer and learning, you will have a much longer life in music than somebody who's just like fiending for the next track, the next like the big thing that they're gonna make,
Yeah, like what you were saying in the beginning about like pretending to learn music production. I feel like when I watch like your tutorials or other tutorials on YouTube or wherever, like when I'm around friends that also make music, and I'm more so just soaking it in than actually trying to like, oh, let me try, or trying to push them out the way so I can get hands-on experience. I'd rather just soak up the experience and see like different techniques and how they're doing things.
Yeah.
So I understand what you mean by that.
And it's both, right? It's like you soak it up, you absorb, and then you've absorbed so much that you can basically recreate that process when you do get hands-on, right?
Yeah.
Totally. You're on the right track. And the thing about this is like I've been doing this for a long time. Like I've been working Ableton Live for a long time. So like when you like, it's easy to get caught up in a comparison game to any producer that you see online, but just know that like, yeah, it literally just takes time. And the more you do it, like there's no cheat code, there's no easy way, there's no like tip I can give you to like jump up a couple levels. It literally is just repetition and time and keeping like and putting in the work. It's like muscle. It's like a workout. You go to do push-ups today and you look in the mirror, you're not going to be disappointed that you're not like hugely jacked, right? Because you just did push-ups today. But if you do push-ups regularly for a year, and then you look in the mirror, you're going to be proud of the results you see, but you couldn't get those in one day, no matter how many push-ups you did in one day,
Yeah.
You got this. Keep going with it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for calling in. I hope you do it again soon.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, man. Great call. I have to sneeze. I'm sorry, chat. Are you all enjoying the show? Thank you. I'm sorry I've been kind of neglecting text chat, but we do have a bunch of calls to get to. Next name says, bro, TAETRO killing it today. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hushy Holland says, sorry, I'm late. How do you call in? There's a Zoom link. I just put it in the 343 chat. Make music you enjoy, says Cookie Beats, not what you think everyone else will enjoy. I agree. That said, I do like to make music that people can, like, I'm not making music in a vacuum. That's the whole reason I put music out. So part of my enjoyment of what I make does also come off of what do other people enjoy. Okay, it's time. Ladies and gentlemen, when we do these call-in shows, we have a young man from across the world who calls in with very insightful questions. A young man who's been building up his home studio setup, his repertoire. He's getting ready to release tracks. Recently had his whole hard drive crash, but that won't stop him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Samuel Messiah.
Hey guys, this is my segment, Samuel Says.
Oh, welcome, Samuel. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since the last call-in show.
Now, how's it going? I know you messaged me about a hard drive situation. What's happening? How's it going?
Yeah, I just turned the Mac on one day and everything was wiped. So now I'm slowly rebuilding my sample packs and VSTs and everything I lost.
Now, what did you learn from this experience?
Back up everything. Sure.
Back up everything. Yes. And
but you
Mac has Time Machine, my friend.
Yeah. Also that.
I think there's also something fishy because you don't just open your computer one day and it's suddenly wiped. I think you did something.
No, I mean, maybe the fact that I just left it on and closed it, I didn't shut it down. I'm not sure, but
what are you saying? That's how laptops work. When you go to About This Mac and you look at the hard drive space, is it an empty hard drive?
No, because NAT stuff is also on there.
Okay, but is it an empty hard drive related to like what it was when you had all your VSTs and samples installed? Like, is that amount of space missing? Or is it empty like a new computer? I don't know.
I don't remember what my hard drive space was.
You don't know? All right. I'm going to move on from this. But what else do you want to talk about, Samuel? Samuel, mail me the computer and I'll figure it out.
Sure. Just a few months without production.
Yeah.
I've actually been producing on my iPad now because I have a lot of free time in the bus. So I'm producing on GarageBand.
That's dope.
For the meantime.
Joseph McCaffrey in chat is interesting. He brings up an interesting theory. He says Natalie got mad and deleted his stuff. Can you confirm or deny this?
Nat is sus.
Nat is sus. Very sus. But on the bus, tell me about producing on the bus.
I just found myself wasting time on the bus, not doing anything other than playing games with my friends. So from time to time, I just make a few tracks. I'm getting into EDM these days. GarageBand is not the best for EDM, but
sure.
I mean, yeah.
What about the browser-based and app-based DAW that we were using the other day? Not the other day.
Oh, BandLab.
Yeah, BandLab. Consider that.
Okay.
Because what you said about GarageBand is right. It's very basic, the sound selection that you have. But what BandLab has is a bunch of cool sound packs, and they work with artists, and they have cool tutorials too, like how to make a this person kind of track, whatever. But yeah, that's cool. Good. Yes, I am constantly thinking about how do I optimize my time, and if you've got that commute time on the bus and you are taking advantage of it, do it. But what's the follow-up? You make a beat on the bus, and then what do you do with it?
Never thought of that.
Exactly. And think about your process like this. You have GarageBand on your phone. The sounds are not that great, but if you're doing everything via MIDI, you could have a whole track made that you just write on piano, export all that MIDI out, and open it up in Ableton Live, and then you've got all your sounds, right? It's MIDI, so you can interchange. So think about that for your writing process as well.
Okay.
What else do you want to talk about? All right, let's get into it.
First of all, where did Daltrick and Max's shows go?
We had to let Max go, unfortunately. No, just kidding. Well, Max spends a lot of time running the company, and we're starting to get back into in-person classes and stuff too. So things are picking back up. So we had to allocate resources appropriately, and we wanted to double down on some of our most successful shows. Also, Claire Daltrick is doing lots of different things. So she is taking a break from 343 TV to do some other amazing projects. As you all have probably seen, we've got the Ableton Live handbook videos that we've been rolling out slowly but surely. And Claire Daltrick just worked on that. So that's a huge project she's on at the moment. But she's also a professor at Berkeley. Like, she's got a lot of things going on. She's super cool in that way. So some people taking a break, do other things. You know, that's how it goes. But maybe one day they will return to the channel.
Maybe. The question remains. Okay,
Indeed.
Next question. Should I expand my genres? Like, should I learn how to produce in different genres, or just stick to the same genre and improve on that?
Why does it have to be either or? Why can it not be both? I mean, there is
time management.
Yeah, time management, of course. I don't think you should go crazy and try to learn like 5 new genres or something like that. But if there's like one is your bread and butter, like you see what I do, right? Like I do like a little bit of lo-fi, a little bit of pop, a little bit of trap. I kind of am in those worlds. Like regardless, if I'm making music, I'm in like kind of one of those worlds. And occasionally I'll do like a little pop rock track or something like that. So it is okay to work in other genres, but what you'll find is a lot of universal music production techniques. Like you're still also in a moment where you're building like your just general production skills and music making skills. So you'll be able to apply a lot across different genres. And what you'll find is as your skills improve, you'll be able to work in multiple genres. But yeah, find a couple other, because you say you're in EDM right now. You know, it just might get old. You don't want to lose that spark. I mean, and for me, not that lo-fi like necessarily gets old, but some days I just don't want to make a lo-fi beat. Some days I want to dive into something else, something more energetic, you know? And that is fine. Yes, don't pigeonhole yourself into one genre. Don't go crazy and try to learn a bunch of different genres, but try to hone your focus and have a selection that you can pull from and say like, all right, today I'm going to make an EDM, whatever I'm feeling today. And if you focus on whatever you're feeling like making, I can almost guarantee it's going to be funneled into like just a small handful of genres. So go for it.
Okay, audio cut for a second. Don't know why that happened. Anyways, I'm actually using the commuting time also to like, I just leave Spotify running in the background while I'm playing games. And like, I just try to like discover new songs.
Nice. Discover weekly playlist?
To the same old stuff on and on.
Dude, I listen to the same old stuff on and on and on all the time, but I do have a couple playlists, like especially if I'm learning a new genre. Learned a lot about hyperpop through listening to the hyperpop playlist. But also, do you use your Discover Weekly? Because sometimes it's pretty good.
Wait, is the Discover Weekly like a mix curated for your...
Yeah, you said Spotify, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Discover Weekly is like a playlist that it curates every week, and it basically, you know, it generates it based on all the music that you like. And I found some of my favorite music on Discover Weekly, so that's definitely worth using. And it does feel like you have to force yourself to listen to new music sometimes. I definitely feel that way. But the reward can be super high if you discover like a new artist that you love.
Yeah, I'm discovering like my favorite artists' old songs.
Yeah. Well, that's good too. Like the back catalog of your favorite artists. Yeah.
Either is. So I'm trying to, I don't know how to phrase this, but I'm trying to develop my taste. Like, I'm not really interested in anything currently.
What do you mean?
Or like, I don't know how to phrase it.
You're interested in music and music production?
Yeah, no, but like, I'm not, I have no idea how to phrase this. Like, if an artist says I have the sound in my head and I try to get it to paper, that does not happen for me. I have to look through all the sounds and find the one that matches the best.
I think that is like overstated. I think artists say that too much. Oh, I have this sound in my head. They're not like inventing new sounds in their brain. They're like, I want this lead sound from this track that I heard, or this lead sound that kind of sounds like this track I heard. Like, it's about just building up the encyclopedia in your brain. Like, it's about learning a language. Like, you only speak English?
I speak English, French, Arabic, a bit of German.
All right, and what's like your best languages? Like what? Like top 2?
It's probably like English and Probably Arabic and French or Thai.
English isn't even
English
in your
is
top.
the best though.
Yeah, English is the best. Yeah. So like across those languages, it actually makes sense for the analogy that you know all these languages. Like you can probably, so you said English is the best. So you can probably sound as smart as you can possibly sound speaking English. But if you try to speak one of those other languages that you don't know so well, you maybe can get by in conversation, but you probably can't articulate your ideas as well as you could in your top language, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's like all happening in your head. So like when an artist says that, like I have this sound I want to get that sound in the track, they're pulling from the, like it's like language in your brain. Like English is your number one language because you know the most words, you understand how the grammar works, you understand how like the idioms work, like all that stuff. And then other languages, you know, I know how to say hi, how are you in Spanish, but that's not going to get me very far because I don't have that brain capacity. I don't have that encyclopedic knowledge of the language in my brain. With music, it's the same exact thing. You need the encyclopedic knowledge. And it goes back to what I've been talking about this whole stream. Critically listening to everything that you love and understanding what makes it tick and what makes it sound like the way it does, whether it's an instrument sound, whether it's a mixing technique, or whether it's a song structure, whatever it is. You build that up, and what you talked about with listening to new music and listening to the music that you love over and over, that's going to help you just understand exactly what you like about music. Because you said develop your taste, right? Like you're trying to develop your taste. And the more you understand what you actually like about music, the more you can actually execute it. The more you clearly define, like you can say, great, I love this track's bass, but like what kind of bass is it? If you can figure out what synth they used, or like if you even know the difference between a sine wave and a saw wave and a triangle and a square, like that's what I feel like people are talking about when they're like, all right, I want to execute this kind of sound. So you're doing it. It's just going to take time and it becomes instinctual. Really, like you start relying on your instinct, and you see me dive through presets and stuff all the time too, but I'm not really just fishing for random sounds. I have an idea of what I want to do in my head, and when I hear the right sound, I'm like, boom, that's it. So it's like almost a blend of both. I kind of know what I want to do, but I don't know where that sound is yet, but when I hear it, I know it, you know? So you have to trust your instincts a little bit more. Well, of course, you're young too. Like, just keep building up that musical knowledge and keep understanding what you love about the music critically, and then start relying on those instincts and being like, it's that's the sound. Like, well, as soon as you hear the preset, that's the sound. And as soon as you hear a preset that's not the sound, you're like, that's not the sound. So that's taste in a nutshell. Not only understanding what you like, but understanding what you don't like.
Interesting. Well, that was it, I guess. That was very short.
That was very short. But, you know, we're going to have a members-only stream at some point next week, I think. Maybe the week after. So we'll be able to chat again soon. Great call.
Okay. Thank you for the call, as usual.
Thank you for calling in. A shout out to Nat. Nat Mad Sus. You can tell her I said that.
Yes. Sure.
All right. Peace out, Samuel. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Shrug, yes, I see lots of people in the waiting room. I will get to you when I can, my friend. We have lots of people ahead of you. Like Diana, who I'm pulling in right now. Channel member. What's up, Diana? How are you? Almost there.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. There we go.
Okay.
Welcome to
Hi.
the show. Is this our first time speaking?
It is.
Amazing. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for being a member, and thank you for always asking me how I'm doing on the streams.
Yes. Well, I have a question about time managing.
Oh, I love questions about time management. Let's hear it.
Because I think you know that I'm a music student. I'm a singer.
Yes.
In Peru.
Indeed.
But right now, I'm taking 7 classes in university. I am having college counseling meetings to help me transfer to either the UK or Canada. And it's very overwhelming to try and study music production at the same time while watching the streams. When I was in vacation and I didn't have my university classes,
Yeah.
I used to have Ableton open at the same time as I watched the streams to try and practice and translate what you were doing
Of course.
to the the DAW. And right now I can't, because when I'm watching the streams, I'm either doing homework or something else. Just yesterday, I stayed up until 2 a.m., 2:30 to make an essay and then my piano homework and
Wow.
everything. Yeah. So how did you do it when you were a student?
Do you want? I can give you my most honest answer that I will give today, and it is that like music school. Okay, we want to build our skills, right? So some of us go to music school, and we try to learn as much as possible. I clearly understood the classes that I had to take, but that were not going to benefit me after my 4 years in college. So all those classes that I had to take, but were not going to give me any long-term benefit, I just got by. Like, you would not catch me staying up until 2 a.m. writing any kind of essay, because I can write something that is passable and not stress about it, because I know that this essay is never going to be read by anybody besides the professor. I know that I am not going to need to talk about whatever this essay is about anytime after writing this essay. So I do whatever I need to do to just get a passable grade and actually get through the class. So like, I think it's about prioritization. Like, go hard. Like, if you think you're taking a ton of value from your piano classes, which I think that's one of the classes that I took a lot of value from, being able to just play keys efficiently. Double down on that. Put more time into that. If you have to take like a random English class or something, like I had to take like English 101, English 102, I'm not staying up till 2 a.m. writing the English essays. In fact, Joseph McCaffrey in chat, I don't know if I can. I think I can say this and it won't matter. I don't care. So like, I had to take algebra, like 101, and I can't do algebra, and I've never done algebra since I've been in college. Actually, I didn't do algebra in college because the class was online, and Joseph McCaffrey took the class for me. That's all I'll say. Joseph McCaffrey took the math class for me. We passed with a B+. We did a lot of math to figure out how many of the homework assignments I needed to do to get a B in the class. And I gave him sandwiches, and he took the class, and then it's good to go. So like, I know that sounds like funny and it's like whatever, but I really, with school in general, I think a lot of school is easy to get by just passing. But sometimes we stress too hard about the things that we're going to forget about right after we do them. So why do we stress about those things, you know?
True.
So like, this is like I am not the best like scholar, student or whatever to look up to by any means, as you can tell from what I just said. But with time management, the exercise that you can do, because I know music majors get totally the short end of the stick, because we have to take so many classes. A lot of our classes aren't worth 3 credits. Some classes are worth 1 credit or less. Yeah, exactly. So it just like is a time suck, unfortunately. But one thing you can do, there are 168 hours in the week. So I would recommend you take that 168 hours and you start really understanding how you're spending your time. And what I mean by that is you're going to start subtracting from 168. So let's say you get 8 hours of sleep a night across 7 nights a week. You're going to minus 56 from that 168. And you're going to do that for everything that you know that you do. Meals, maybe you spend a half hour or an hour on food a day. So that's minus 7. And you're going to go through that, every single thing that you do. Piano practice, X amount of hours. And you're going to subtract every single thing that you do that takes time, commuting, showering, eating, whatever it is, subtract it from 168. And what most people find is when you do that, you have time left at the end. And that's really... that was a really powerful experience for me, because I also felt like I had no time. And after I did that experiment, I realized exactly how much time I really had. And when you know exactly how much time you really have, you are just a little bit more in control and you put less pressure on yourself because you don't think to yourself, man, I'm wasting time, because you know exactly how much of time you have. But you also don't put pressure on yourself to do too much because you know exactly the limited time that you have. But what most people find after doing that exercise, oh man, Zoom, what happened? Hold on. I was talking to Diana and then it cut out.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, nice. Whew, that was a close one. But the finishing thought on that is what most people exercise minus everything that you do from 168 hours is that they have more time than they thought they had. So I definitely recommend you do that so you know exactly how much time you do or do not have.
Yeah. You can do math.
Well, I can do addition and subtraction, but they make you do so much extra stuff, you know?
I know. I had to take a math class too, my first semester, but only one.
That's good.
Because I'm a music major.
Well, I was a music major too, and they made me take 2 math classes, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm only taking one gen ed class.
That's
and
good.
The others are music related. And I'm taking a MIDI technology, which is my first music production class. And we are just starting to get into the DAWs, but I use Ableton, they use Pro Tools, so that's a little bit confusing, but it's going to take time, I know, to get used to it.
For sure. But the one thing, like, especially with those music classes, because schools and colleges, like those kinds of schools are so like entrenched in their like foundational curriculum. They can't keep up with modern trends or anything. So you're not going to be able to take a ton of value from those classes. So do not stay up until 2 a.m. working on the whatever Pro Tools project, because you can get a B or a B plus doing half of the work. Like what's the difference really between an A? You know what nobody's ever asked me for since I graduated college? Nobody has ever asked me for my transcript.
True.
So does it matter if I got a B or an A or a C or a D? Like at some point it doesn't matter because I have the degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really think about that. I know it's hard sometimes, but like you just have to think about return based on your time investment, right? Like sure, you could stay up until 2 a.m. and get the A, but what if you went to sleep at midnight and got a B plus? Like
that is true.
Like what would be the net difference? Like you would probably like your life a little more. Or what if you stayed up until 2 a.m. and worked on that fire track that you've been working on instead of working on the project?
Ooh.
You know, like that's the exchange too. Like how much do you value like sleep and rest versus how much do you need to do the thing you need to do? But if you do that minus 168 exercise, you'll find that maybe you don't have to ever stay up until 2 a.m. Who knows?
I'll do that and I'll update you.
Yes, please keep me posted. I would love to know what is the number. Like share with us what is the number after you do that calculation. I would love to know. And I'll do mine too. And I'll share that.
It's a very great tip.
Yeah. It's so simple. But like a professor explained that to me once and it was like it just broke my brain. It's literally just subtraction. That's all.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. Diana, thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, say hi to Joseph for me.
Yes. Joseph! She says hi! Well, he's here. Of course, he can hear. But thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for being a member.
Thank you.
Oh, say something, Joe. Say. She's listening to that one. She's here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can.
All right, say hi to the camera too so it's not weird. Hi, Diana.
Bye. Take care.
Okay, bye. Thanks. Have a good one. Yeah. That's funny. All right. We got to keep going through the calls. One other time management thing I do, and this is good for everybody. Let me not have my whole phone open. On my home screen, I know this is kind of hard to see. This block right here is my screen time widget. And it literally tells me how much time I've spent on every app. So if at the end of the day you think you have no time, if you put this widget on your screen, I've already spent 48 minutes on Instagram today. Granted, I was posting and stuff for the stream, so that's kind of work, but the majority of that is not work. So if I, at the end of the day, look at my widget and I've spent an hour here and 2 hours here or whatever on an app, I know that I actually had time. I just kind of squandered it. It's just about being real with yourself, you know? Andre Von Zark. Let's get you in here. Diana says screen time exposed to everybody. It's true. Hi, Andre. How are you?
All right. Hello.
Welcome to the stream. Thank you for calling in.
Here, speaking through Zoom call. So yeah.
Awesome.
I'm calling from Puerto Rico. So yeah.
Nice.
Puerto Rico.
Is it nice weather in Puerto Rico?
Let me 1 second. I can't hear you for now.
Oh yeah, just mute the stream.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Amazing. Puerto Rico, amazing. Let's get into what do you want to talk about?
All right. It's not really a question. It's mostly my 5 cents into what you said at the beginning of the stream.
Sure.
And lots of people, since I've been working with music production for like a decade, and I've been drumming since I was like 9 years old.
Nice.
People always ask me, how do I get into music production? And I usually say, don't think about what DAW you want to use. Don't think about learning a DAW. Learn what's behind the DAW, the meats and potatoes of the DAW. Because people usually focus on, how do I use Ableton? How do I use Logic? How do I use this or that? And usually, in my experience, what made me learn music production wasn't really learning a DAW. Because when I was studying, I went to college for radio. I learned radio and radio marketing. And they use Pro Tools to make the radio shows. And then they use some other software called DAD. And DAD is basically like a playlist thing where you put the music and then it runs in the radio station. And what actually helped me learn music production wasn't really, how do I use Pro Tools? How do I use Logic? Because I use Logic and some trackers, like how they did music on the old school video game consoles. And what actually helped me learn was learning how to sound design, how to work with sound, what frequencies can humans and animals and different species can hear.
Totally.
It's like learning the meats and potato behind music production. And people focus too much on the technology that it's not really what it should be.
I agree. And what you start to realize that there are universal concepts, right? It doesn't matter. At some point, it doesn't matter the software. There are concepts that are universal that if you jumped from Ableton Live to Logic today, you would carry with you. Are the workflows different? Sure. But it is that at the beginning, it's like, sure, just pick a software. You know, it doesn't matter because you don't have enough information. You don't know enough about music production to know which software is better. So you're better off just picking a piece of software and just learning the basics. And then once you know the basics, if you're really like, man, Ableton Live is not the workflow for me, I'm going to try Logic because it's way more linear or whatever that concept may be in your head, good. But at least you'll carry over like, oh, I know what a mixer is. I know what the EQ does. I know what a compressor does, etc. Like, you know, you start to know things like that.
Exactly.
Well, I think we might have lost you, Andre. Could also be my internet. My internet's been a little shaky. Yeah, sorry about the low volume on that. I tried to pump it up as much as I could. But I think we lost Andre, unfortunately. But Andre, regardless, thank you for the call. I'm sorry that we lost you. It seems to be a connection issue. But thank you. I think you bring up... Oh, my Zoom is all messed up. I think Andre brings up a good point. It kind of comes back to like jumping on the questions when you're a beginner. Oh, Andre, are you still there?
All right. Yeah.
All right. Great. Before we lose connection again, close it out for us.
All right. What was I gonna say? Lastly, is going back to the person that asked how to make a song, and then they were saying about doing 150 tracks, and then they noticed that it was go more minimalistic.
Yeah.
There's an artist that I love a lot. She's called Chipsell. And she does music straight on a Game Boy, literally on a Game Boy. She literally has this. Yeah, she literally has this software called LSDJ, and she plugs it in, connects it to a mixer, connects that mixer to any software that can record the audio, and then she starts making every single song. And literally, that Game Boy can only play 4 channels: two square waves, a triangle, and noise.
Totally.
Literally. And then she does songs that you could literally hear that straight up from a video game.
Yeah, I love that. It's sticking within your limitations. Andre, thank you so much for calling in. That was a lot of really great insight. And thank you for putting words to those thoughts. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too, Andre. Oh, yeah, from Puerto Rico. Boricua. Who else? Who else is from Puerto Rico in the chat? I saw that pop up. Se levanta. To be fair, Zoom has lots of, so that was just, sometimes callers just calling at different levels and I have to adjust it in real time. So, hello, Bo Shuda in the house. All right. The calls are closed for today. I am going to get to everybody that is in the waiting room right now, but the calls are closed because we have a bunch waiting and I want to make sure I get to all of them. Let me see, are any of these doubles? Yes. But I hope you all are enjoying, I should say, the calls. We've got a lot of people, so if you just joined or something, I'm going to take everybody's call that's in the waiting room right now. Just stay patient. Music Diary say, hey man, how doing? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And if we have any kind of connection issue again, I'll be sure to try to fix it. It seems like my Wi-Fi is a little unstable at the moment. But let's bring Marco in for a call. Let's get it. Hi, CME group. Welcome. Hi, Peter. Hi, Shaw. Great. We don't I love doing these call-in shows. That's why I was so stoked to do one because it's been a while. Marco, how are you?
Hi.
Thank you for calling in.
Fine.
Where are you calling in from?
Venice, Italy.
Venice, Italy. Amazing. People calling from all over the place on the show. Well, that's great. Thank you for calling. And what did you want to talk about today?
I want to ask you a question because I can't really find my place in music because I like so much genres
Totally.
like metal, rock, hip hop, lo-fi. So when I compose, I can't really produce something of good with because I just can't mix well all these things.
Yeah.
So how can I do that?
I hear you because I am also a person who's into very many different genres, and I had had similar issues in the past of just not being very good at any of them. And what I tried to do was just really, really focus on the few that I really liked, or for a moment in time, whether it's a week or a month, or like saying like, okay, for this week or for this month, I'm only going to work on this kind of music. And when you have that kind of focus like that, it really does help you improve your quality, because all those genres you just listed have completely different. I mean, like, of course, some mixing concepts and things like that are universal to all genres, but there's a lot of really specific things, especially around mixing guitars and guitar production, mixing live instruments versus mixing electronic, like synths and instruments. There's so many things that differ from genre to genre. And if you're trying to do them all at once, what you're going to find is you're not really getting better at any of them. So I would definitely recommend you try to build some focus in for yourself. And it's like having a job or anything, right? Like as producers, we have to wear many different hats. Maybe on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, you're a metal musician. And maybe on Thursdays and Fridays, you're making lo-fi beats. And maybe Saturdays and Sundays, you're going to work on like just some more like contemporary rock stuff, whatever it may be. But split your time and be deliberate about your time and be focused during that time. And we have the luxury of being artists that we don't have to have just one artist project. We can be the metal artist for as much time as we want to be the metal artist, but we can also be the artist at the same time as we're the lo-fi beat maker. But we can have different identities. We can wear different masks. We can wear different hats, however you want to say it. But you do need to build in that time to totally focus, like focus on one, get good at one, pick your favorite. There's this quote, and I forget who it's by, but it's when somebody's talking about focus and picking all the things you want to do in life, right? Like in the perfect world, we have 100 years on this earth. But if you have 10 things that you want to do in life, I guess the adage goes, you should figure out what those 10 things are, rank them, and then cross out the bottom 8, essentially. And basically the top 2 things that you listed, you're really going to like. You're just really going to pursue. And the bottom 8 things, yes, it would be great if you could do everything. But at the end of the day, if we're only here for 100 years, we can't do everything. So sometimes we do have to choose to do specific things rather than try to do everything if we want to get good and we want to improve and we want to pursue those things. We can't, like, I could want to be a musician and I could want to be a veterinarian and I could want to be a game streamer. But if I try to do all those 3 things at the same time, I'm not going to pass my classes to be a veterinarian. I'm not going to produce very good music, and I'm not going to get a lot of followers on my game streams, because I'm trying to do too much at the same time. Well, I have to focus. Which one do I pick? Music producer, veterinarian, game streamer? I have to focus. I have to pick one. That's a hard choice, but we have to do that.
It's a good point. Yes.
And life stages too. So you might say, all right, I'm not going to make metal music right now. I'm going to focus on lo-fi beats. But maybe in 2 years from now, you're like, I want to go back to being a metal musician. And maybe you've built up enough skill and enough time as a lo-fi musician that you're like, all right, I'm ready to switch gears. I'm ready to try something new. And to be honest, I'm in this moment right now. Like, I really want to make music with vocals on it. And I realize that that's very different from the beats and stuff that I make here as TAETRO on this channel. So I'm going to be starting a new artist project with a totally different name. And I'm putting a lot of time and effort into it. But the reason I'm able to do that and maintain this channel is because I've been doing this channel and been doing what I do as TAETRO for so long that I automated a lot of the processes. And I've made it so it's not an intense amount of work to do what I do as TAETRO. So now I'm confident and I've built up enough time to put time and resources into another project, and it will be a shift and it will be something different. And it's a little scary for me, if I'm being honest, but I built one thing up over time and then made it so I had more time and resources to eventually do another thing, but that came at another time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I highly encourage you pursue that for yourself. Put some focus in, but don't feel like you're giving up on something because you can always return to it.
Yes, thank you. Because I also play in a band. I play drums because I'm a percussionist.
That's awesome.
And I also played in an orchestra for some years ago because I also like classical music. So yeah, I think you're right.
Hey, at the beginning of my college experience, I was a trumpet player, but I had to make a real decision at the beginning of my college career and say, I do not want to be a trumpet player. Why am I spending all this time in trumpet lessons and in the wind ensemble playing trumpet and all these other ensembles? I don't want to do this. So I had to put down the trumpet, and that's great. Trumpet played a big role in the beginning of like my musical life. It was a big part of my high school experience, middle school experience, whatever, my youth, but it wasn't what I wanted to pursue. So I could have continued on, but it just would have taken up so much time and I wouldn't have been able to pursue the things I wanted to pursue. So sometimes we just have to put some things that meant a lot to us down for a period of time, and maybe we'll pick them up again later, or maybe we'll develop new passions. So you can do that too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in, Marco. Do it again soon.
I'm sorry for my English, but
no, it's okay.
It's not my first language.
Hey, I only speak English, so props to you being able to speak so articulately in a second language. So thank you so much for calling in. No worries on that.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Yes. Hey, I want to do a special shout out to James Murley, VIP member. We're on our road to 200 members, everybody. We are on the road to it. Thank you so much for becoming a member, James Murley. We're going to bring Ed Oyama in. I got Ed Oyama, John Emery, Drunk Bishop, Nikki Moss, Rasheen. And then that's it. That's the order I have them in on Zoom. We're going to go a little bit faster because I do have to go pick my parents up from the airport today, if you can believe that.
Oh snap! Am I on the show?
Ed, how are you?
Yo, what up? Good to be on the show.
Good to
Wow.
have you. You kind of sound like you're underwater, though.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's the Bluetooth
There we go.
headset on. Is that better? Okay.
Yes. Welcome.
Oh, cool. How exciting.
I'm so happy to have you on the
Yeah, I'm
show.
from-
Thank you for being a member. Thank you for all your support, all that stuff. I really appreciate it.
Nah. I love the community you're building. Everyone join, right? It's awesome.
That's great. What do you liking the most about being a member? What's been
Honestly, like, so I'm like kind of new at producing. To be honest, like, I love hip hop. I love music, but I play like a very different genre. I play a lot of acoustic rhythm guitar and a little bit of keys, and I felt like it was kind of crazy jumping in, but everyone's really supportive. A lot of good ideas, a lot of good feedback whenever I make something, and it's funny because I don't feel like I've got that much to give. Like I just watch a lot of YouTube videos and I make some beats every day, but it it's funny how much even like just giving a little thing like that back every now and then, like, oh, maybe you should try a compressor. Maybe you should like put some reverb or dial that reverb back.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you don't have to be an expert. You just have
people like actually can get help.
I was just gonna say, you just don't have to be an expert. You just have to know a little bit more than the next person, and you can help. And if everybody contributes like a little bit of knowledge, it becomes like a big amount of knowledge. It's amazing.
For real. And this is like the first time I've connected this much with like people I've never met.
That's
on
awesome.
The internet. And it's just like so much fun. I'm like, wow.
Nice.
So I'm like 40 with kids. I didn't get into like the Twitch like or like other stuff so much. Everyone I know on Facebook is people I actually know in real life.
Sure.
But it's just a blast.
Yeah.
And everyone's like all about music.
It's amazing what the internet can do. Like it just connects us all. Like you've heard from all the places people are calling in from today. Like it's crazy. It's still crazy to me. Like, but we're all connected, so it's great.
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of boring. I'm just in a Panera Bread in Culver City right now.
No, that's not boring. That's very, very cool. I love Panera Bread.
That's cool.
# bread bowls, chicken noodle soup.
Indeed.
Did you want to chat about something specific today?
Yeah, so I wanted to chat about like, so as I kind of understand, so I've been watching and listening, and like you were in school and you were into music early on, but I was just kind of wondering, like, when you kind of jumped in and started to want to make like more and more music, whenever that point in your journey was, did you worry about like sustainability? Because like, I mean, like MIDI controllers, like it's not really that expensive, but it feels like a big deal to a lot of folks. You got your wheel, and it's like, at what point did you think about, can I like not only sustain this as like a hobby, but can I like do more than that?
Well, I'll say that I was always laser focused on, first of all, I knew music was my thing. Like music was my thing. Like I knew it. Like I wasn't going to play football. I wasn't going to go like work in an office. Music was my thing. So no matter what, I was laser focused on how do I sustain my life via music. And also shout out to SDK for the super chat. I really appreciate it. So I was always laser focused on how do I support my life as a musician. And one thing that I did coming right out of college, well, first of all, while I was in college, I was constantly searching for gigs. Whether that was playing as a singer-songwriter and getting paid, playing in a cover band and getting paid, whether that was looking for people who needed composers for animations. I worked on that. I worked on a podcast that needed like, it's a very funny podcast about conspiracy theories where they wanted to take pop songs and like rewrite them to be about conspiracy theories. Like I worked on that. Like I would take like any kind of job that I could get, teach lessons. I worked in a cafe in a music store just to be kind of close to that environment and try to like pick up some lessons that way. But I was always constantly laser focused on generating an income from music in whatever way possible. Teaching, playing, performing, making music, whatever it may be. Always, 100%. So as I've developed in that, I've always just tried to level up and level up and level up. That's where YouTube comes into play. YouTube seemed about a cool way to like make stuff and generate some revenue. And obviously it's fostered like a fair amount of revenue generating things, whether I do sponsored content or whether it's like just from a perspective of subsidizing this hobby of mine, right? Like if I love MIDI controllers, like whatever you love out there, if you love makeup, if you love basketball, if you love whatever it is, if you make content about it and you build an audience, you can at the very least get things for free related to the things that you love. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the position I'm in with music. Like all the plugins, all the gear, whatever, it just comes to me for free. And then spiral that out. I got good at YouTube and social media, so people started hiring me to consult about those things and strategize about those things and execute creative vision. So like it all just kind of spiraled, but I was always 100% laser focused on making it a sustainable thing that I could support myself with. But that is not to say like it's not all rainbows, right? Like I worked 4 years at a nonprofit, like and working at a nonprofit, you don't get paid a lot, but it was a very rewarding job. And I'm very happy that I did it. But I was doing that all at the same time that I was doing kind of starting all this stuff, you know? So like it's always been the focus, but I was working at the nonprofit teaching music. So I was like, okay, no matter what, like I want to find the thing related to music. And some people are stingy. Some people are like, I'm a musician. I don't want to go teach, which maybe those people shouldn't be teaching, but I was willing to do like pretty much anything related to music if it meant I could sustain my life based on making music.
Well, so it was like sustainable from like, I don't know, like it's not like day zero or something, but from very on, it sounds like that was an emphasis for you.
It was always like, that's the reality. Like I could either commit to doing music just as a hobby, right? Like just as a thing I do on the side, and I could go get a 9 to 5 as a whatever. But that just never appealed. I never saw that for myself. And I have friends that love music that have full-time jobs that are perfectly content with their life. And there's more power to them. I never wanted that to be the goal. Did I, of course, think that I could do that? But I could do that if I had to, but I wouldn't necessarily want to. So I was just, like I said, laser focused. And it's the reality check of like, there's no guarantee in this business that you can make a living off of doing music, doing social media, doing whatever. Like there's no guarantee. So I just realized that if I really want to do this, I had to work very, very hard, and I had to constantly be searching for work and constantly taking opportunities that could progress me forward, you know, like it's just that reality check of like, if you really do want to do it, like you're going to have to sacrifice, you're going to have to take every opportunity possible. I don't know. I just always had that vision of like, I want to do music and I want to sustain myself via music. Don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to figure it out as I go, you know?
Wow. I mean, did it look a lot bit different when you were young? Because I mean, you were just telling another caller you were like playing trumpet in high school. I'm like,
yeah, because when I was younger, I really wanted to be like a high school band director, basically. Like I had no aspirations of doing like a YouTube channel or anything until much, much later. And I was a singer-songwriter too. Like I was like play acoustic guitar, show up to the party, play for 2 hours, covers, that kind of thing. Like,
oh, it's fun.
So
yeah, I get that. That's kind of me.
it evolved. It evolved over time, and I kind of just embraced that. Like I made music for so long under a completely different name. Like TAETRO is like TAETRO still feels kind of like new, even though it's not new to me.
How old is it? I mean,
it's probably like 6 years old. Like it's probably about 6 years old, which is not that young in terms of like content and stuff. But like when I think about the amount of time I spent on my other project, that doesn't even really exist anymore. It's crazy to think that.
Wow, and you're pivoting into hyperpop, at least on the side or something, right?
Yeah, it's less of a, in this case, when I did TAETRO and I abandoned the other project because I didn't like the other project anymore. With TAETRO, I'm going to still sustain TAETRO as its own thing, but I'm going to try this new project and we'll see what happens. Maybe people will like it, maybe people won't like it, but I am over I'm over having a bunch of songs in my Google Drive that nobody has heard and wondering if people would like them. So now we're going to find out if people like them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm learning how to shoot
awesome.
music videos and stuff. I literally just shot a music video for what will be the first original single. And I'm pretty proud of it. So I'm excited to share it all.
Hype. Well, we'll be on that. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, but it's been quite the journey. And I really appreciate people like you and other members and everybody who supports. Like some of you folks like support no matter what, and I really, really appreciate that. I try to just give it all back as possible because I realize how hard it was for me and how fewer resources there were at the time when I was doing it. So if I can do what I can, even to just be like a center point for people to come together, and like you said at the beginning, everybody can share a little bit of knowledge and everybody has come together because this is my channel, but everybody's from around the world and can share with each other and help each other progress. Like it's just way better that way. So I always wanted to use my platform, if I built one, to help other people do the same thing or decide what they wanted to do, you know?
Well, that's so cool. Well, you're doing the high school band director on a different level. You're directing a different band now.
Yeah, kind of. You're totally right. Yeah. But thank you so much for calling, Ed. I really appreciate it. We're going to do a members only stream soon. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on the community tab because we'll be able to chat again.
On that. Thanks so much for taking my call. Appreciate all you do. That's why I support.
Thanks so much for the great question.
The videos help so much.
Thanks so much for the support. Bye, Ed. Thank you. All right, we got to keep rolling. I do see that a couple people have joined after the cutoff. Unfortunately, the 4 callers that I'll be taking from here on out will be John Emery, Junk Bishop, Nikki Moss, and Rasheen. Those are the 4 callers that I have time to take. Unfortunately, if I do not have time to take your call, we will be doing call-in shows in the future. So I apologize that I cannot get to every single call today, but we're going on 2 hours right now, and I will have to leave soon. Hello, John Emery. How's it going?
Bo Shooter in the house.
Bo Shooter in the house.
So great to meet you, man. So great to be here.
So great to have you, man. Thank you for calling in. This is our first time like talking like this, right?
This is it. This is the initial meeting.
Amazing. Well, thank you for always being so supportive and energetic in the chat.
Yeah, I love your stream, man. I love what you do. Ooh, I got the jitters right now a little bit. Nice. Going up.
Awesome.
No,
well, thank you for all those nice words.
Yeah, I have a couple questions for you. I mean, it's so amazing to hear your story now in this caller show that you're doing. I went to music school myself, and I played the saxophone, and kind of like very similar trajectory as you, kind of coming up and everything. Because I remember going to when I was in high school and everything, like my high school band director was like a really big music technology enthusiast and everything like that, and like got us into MIDI and everything. Yeah. But it was interesting when I went away to college, I went to this school that was like really focused on like jazz, commercial music, you know, kind of like the classical thing.
Of course.
But like all the instrumental music teachers would like look down on the kids who were like messing around in Ableton and everything.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, in the recording studio, in the recording arts program and everything. Because it's just like, oh, well, they're just effing around on their MIDI controllers and making beats on their laptops rather than like practicing their instruments and everything.
Meanwhile, they can barely get by because they're adjunct professors. They don't even have full-time gigs, and they're trying to figure out how to make a living based on their little esoteric, like ambient or orchestral things that they can't even get played at a concert hall.
Yeah, man. And like, that's the thing is like, I fought it, you know, I wouldn't say that I fought the technology. I tried to embrace it as much as I could, but I kind of went the path of like, I'm going to try to fit the model of the old model of like, I want to be a studio saxophone player, woodwind player, etc. I played in orchestras. I did all that stuff. And, you know, I did it for as long as I could, but after about 5 years and like doing a Broadway tour and everything and sitting in the pit and then like hearing the third piano player and being like, wow, I could outplay this person on the keys. Like, why don't I just do that?
Yeah.
Like, why don't I do something that allows me to like grow and adapt to the modern world of making music? And I look at somebody like you, and you've, you know, even compared to 4 years ago, the videos that you were making then when you were like just in a bedroom or something like that.
Dude, cringe. I can't even think about it.
Well, I like to go back and like see where you really came from.
Yeah, it's important.
Like, yeah. So like, you know, I'm looking at upgrading my setup now and I'm not going to talk about gear and stuff and all that boring stuff. But like, I wanted to ask you, like, what was it that inspired you to really go this direction, to take the plunge, to invest in, building a better studio, to do all the research for the visual technology? Because I know that you're very into the visuals and everything. And, how do you weigh the risk versus reward? I know you moved to Los Angeles. So just talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a big one. Well, I think the thing about what I was just talking about with the previous call, about being laser focused on not just like being a musician, not just having it for a hobby, but generating an income with it. The thing about that laser focus was, as I did start to generate an income with it, I consistently just reinvested. Obviously, I, thought about how do I pay bills or whatever. And that's where like having a full-time job in conjunction with starting to do content and being a musician came very handy. Because anything I generated in addition to my full-time job pays the main bills. Anything I generate with music goes back into music, right? With that laser focus came like, you just have to, as you try things, you have to be very honest with yourself about what success looks like and what sustainable success looks like. So like I could make videos, sure, but if my videos never got any traction, it would not make sense for me to continue to invest in equipment and continue to invest in like that side of things, right? But I was seeing a success. I was seeing like some traction on the YouTube channel. So I did buy a camera instead of just using my Android phone to put to make videos, like I did make that upgrade and I did consistently see rewards from the upgrade. Higher quality content, more audience members, et cetera, et cetera. And then brands start reaching out. So like I was seeing markers of success, and I was also gauging like my happiness level and my workload at the same time, because it's not just about money with success. It's about like, are you actually happy in life? So making content, connecting with a community from around the world, sharing knowledge, that was all making me happy. And it also started generating revenue. And at a certain point, it got to a point where I had the opportunity to do more of this creative work and leave the full-time job. And when I realized that that was a good moment to exit the full-time job and take on a new opportunity, yes, it felt like a risk. But what I've found over time is that every time I agonize over taking a risk or take a plunge into something new, it always somehow works out. And I don't think that it's necessarily luck. But I think it's just that like when you do take a plunge and you do like step off the diving board, whatever analogy you want, you make it work. Like if you have a safety net, you will always rely on the safety net. But if you take an actual plunge, you have to survive after taking that plunge, you survive. It's like sink or swim, So I've always had that sink or swim mentality. It's like, okay, going into freelance world, this is very scary. This is not me getting the same paycheck month after month. This is not me getting my pension anymore. This is like, I'm going to have to actively get money somehow to live. But once I didn't have the safety net of the job anymore, and once I went full freelance, I started building things for myself to make sure that I had income. And I make sure to stack opportunities so that if certain opportunities go away, that there's enough left over, that doesn't break the whole thing, Like I don't want it to be like Jenga, where if one block gets pulled out, the whole thing collapses. No, if one block pulls out, I'll survive and I'll go on to the next thing, or I'll look for a new thing. So it's always been about that, sink or swim, and it's just like being reality. And it's also about being extra cautious. Like, let me stack up this Jenga thing so that it's super stable, so that you could remove like 5 different blocks and I could still survive somehow, But it is all about like taking those risks and having there is fear, but I also had the reality check with myself. It's like, bro, every time you have this fear and you do something, it works out fine. Every time you move into an apartment that's a little more expensive that you didn't know if you could afford, somehow you figured out how to afford it, you know, like it just works. So I'm like overly cautious, and the voices in my head, it's not like devil and angel. It's like super worried, over cautious voice, and then like super confident, you'll figure it out, just do it voice. It's just always happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and for you, it's kind of been like stage by stage, because like I mentioned 4 years ago, watching those videos, you know, and you, whatever small amount of traction that you were getting at a time, it was something I feel like you had a passion for and that you went for. It is totally scary when you start off new and you're kind of just searching through the dark and everything, trying to figure out, well, will this work? Will Twitch be a good platform for me, et cetera, et cetera. Can you comment on that a little bit?
It's just all about experimenting and trying what works. Like I do a lot of creative strategy work now too. So because based on everything I learned about doing this stuff, like I can get hired to help do it for other people, I guess. And what people don't focus on is like, okay, what does success look like? And especially for businesses, like if you're spending money on social media, if you're spending money on whatever, like you have to define what success looks like. You can't just do it because it feels good from a business perspective. You have to also do like what actually works business wise. So like that's like, I've always just been focused on like, what, like, is this actually working? Like, does this kind of content actually get viewers, or do I just feel good doing it? Now, can I do both? Can I do content that I just feel good doing and then separate content that also does well to support that content? Yes. But can I also work to find the Venn diagram of like what's in between those two things? You know, like that's always what I've been shuffling between, is like what actually works. Like, and like literally, like so many people avoid their own financial situation. Like they don't pay attention to like, where's my income coming from? Or like, I guess for a lot of people, it's not as complicated, but for me, my income comes from so many different places because I'm a freelancer. So I have to like actually look at the numbers and say like, where is all this coming from? What is most of it coming from? Like what's actually working? So I'm not pretending that something's working that's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the whole thing of like managing what people want to see versus what you want to do, I guess is a big thing. And like focusing on where you're going to take your content, as well as defining what success looks like. I mean, you live in Los Angeles. That's notoriously the city of, where image is the most important thing.
Sure.
But I've seen you grow over the years. You're working on your fashion. You're kind of developing your own style. Like, I don't know anybody on YouTube who does what you do. So like, what was kind of the voice that like led you in that direction?
I've just always like, some people don't care about aesthetics and don't care about how things look, and that's fine. Like, just you do you. It doesn't have to. Like, I know lots of channels out there that are shot, like especially in the non-music space, a lot of channels are shot like with like janky cameras, but they have really entertaining content still. And I think it's great. But for me, like I've always loved movies probably way more than I've loved music. And I mean like watching the same movies over and over again, watching directors' commentaries, learning about the behind the scenes, like how the movie was made, listening to interviews with directors of photography. So I've always cared about that stuff way more. I hated
fan. Yeah.
I am a big Alien fan. But the thing is, like, I hated filming videos when I first started. But then when I realized that it somehow connected to my interest in, like, I'm not going to call what I do cinematography. It's not cinematography, but it's like paying attention to the visuals and framing and stuff like that. And that is different than just doing music. But I realized that I love those things. So like aesthetic, fashion, like that all stuff really matters to me, and I really love those things. So if I can at any point combine all those things in my content, I'm going to do it. But it's because I love it. It's not just for show. Like it's literally because I love it. So I don't want people to think like, oh, I got to make videos that look like this, or I have to dress a certain way, or I have to look a certain way. You don't. I just do it because I love it.
Yeah, well, very cool to meet you, man. Very cool to get to pick your brain a little bit and bounce some ideas off of you. I love hearing your story. I love being part of the community and everything. Hey, I say we get a Discord going or something. I'm not sure if there already is one, but
there actually is a Discord, and it is for members. So if you become a member at any tier, you get access to the Discord.
got to throw down for that membership.
Exactly.
All right, so good to talk to you, TAETRO.
Thank you for talking. Hey, you have a great radio voice. You should do a podcast or something if you don't already.
Thank you. I'm working on it. Bo Shooter.
Bo Shooter out. Thank you so much for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Have a good one. Great. Let's keep rolling through these calls. I got Drunk Bishop. Got Drunk Bishop, then Nikki Moss, then Rasheen. Let's buzz off through these. Hello. Oh, waiting for the mic to be not muted, though. Ask to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Welcome, Drunk Bishop.
Hey, what's up, man?
How are you? Thank you for being a member. Thank you for always being in chat and always being like super enthusiastic. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Is my mic all right? There's no like back.
Sounds great.
All right, cool. Yeah, man. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about sort of what I'm up to lately.
Let's hear it.
Well, so I got this 49 key MIDI keyboard.
Nice.
And been trying to kind of get more into actually, learning what these chords are, because I play guitar.
Nice.
And I don't really know a lot of theory, so I'm kind of getting into that. And it's like, it's like, where do you begin and stuff like that. So I'm really used to the muscle memory thing on guitar. Like,
sure.
So I'm just kind of creating shapes, if that makes sense.
Well, hey, that's the same thing for keyboard too. Like shapes and muscle memory. Like that's how I operate on keyboard as well.
Right. And I feel like I'm kind of getting there because I'm finding like good sounds and I'm figuring out like, oh, that's a chord. I might not specifically intend to make like a seventh or something, but like turns out it sounds good. But so yeah, I've been trying to learn it. I guess I got to bust myself in the butt to get the theory down because it's just most people are kind of like boring with it.
Well, it's relatively dry. And like, if you are approaching it that way, like I would definitely recommend you find a song that you like and like learn the chords, like learn how to play the chords to it on keys. Like because that's a lot better than just learning dry theory. But like with your guitar knowledge that you already kind of have, you'll be able to start relating things a little bit. Like from playing guitar, like the difference between playing a bar chord, playing like a open chord, playing between so different voicings, right? And the same thing applies to keyboard. So what you'll start hearing is the differences between those voicings on keyboard and also the different shapes to play those voicings on keyboard. But if you do it through some songs that you like and learn those chord progressions, you won't hate yourself because you'll be playing music that you like. It's not dry. And then you'll start to see connections. You'll make connections between different songs. Be like, oh, this is a different song, but these chords are kind of the same shape. Oh, the third's on top. This is an inversion. Like you might start thinking that way, but you don't start thinking that way until you start making those connections and you learn enough material.
Yeah, I mean, dude, sometimes this stuff gets a little intimidating because I'll watch a guy lay down something that, quote unquote, he says is simple. And I'm like, dude, how did you remember to, the way they go back and forth? Like, I guess it's the same on guitar when you can go from a C to a D really fast. People sometimes are impressed by that. Like, I guess it's the same for me on keyboard. I'm like, dang it, man. Like, because my pinky just misses that key.
Well, yeah, but think about how long you developed your muscle memory and your calluses and like the shapes. Like guitar is like to get somebody to start guitar versus to get somebody to start piano, guitar is way more of a tougher sell because like your fingers will hurt. It's weird. Like laying your fingers down on a keyboard is a lot more of a natural position than the way you have to make chords on a guitar. Like, so like always related to that. I mean, you're starting new on a new instrument. It's going to feel like when you just started guitar, like that awkwardness.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of like doing. I'm like trying to remember what was I doing when I first learned guitar?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, learning easy, simple songs that were just a couple of chords.
Yep.
Just relax and have fun. Make a good, get a good piano sound going on it, and just have fun with whatever it is. It's just it's kind of a slow burn lately, man.
And that's okay. Like the fun portion, like fun, it especially kicks in with guitar and stuff because we can learn like Nirvana, Green Day, like, and that stuff is just like naturally fun or whatever. But that's important because if you're not having fun doing it, you're not going to pick it up tomorrow in practice, or you're not going to push yourself to try something a little bit harder. So do try to make it as fun as possible with the keyboard. That's why I say find some songs that you really love and slowing stuff down, that kind of thing. Like do keep it fun, you know?
Well, I'm trying not to like limit myself too much with that too. Like, you know, I still want to create, so I'll sit there and kind of just, you know, hit some random stuff, like some shapes that are familiar, and I'm like, oh dang, that sounds good. What if I just did this over here? And like, I don't know, I've been making some stuff that I just kind of save the whole project and come back to once in a while. I'm like, dang man, I actually like that chord I did, but I have no idea what I did, or I can't recreate it because I don't know what the notes are. So
well, you do. You can bring up the piano roll and like look at it note by note and then recreate it.
True.
I definitely you should do that. Like if you hit that and you're like, man, I really, really like that, don't just let it pass by. Like really just sit there and for a half hour, even if it takes, and drill it into your brain. Like what exactly did I play? What is this? Thought of that. Maybe analyze a little bit. But that's kind of what we were talking about. Like it's like you can sit there and do it critically. Like what are we in a rush for? Like what are we on to the next thing for? Like sit there and dissect it if you like it and figure out why you like it.
Yeah, and the answer is like literally right there in the piano roll.
Exactly.
I never remember that it says the notes right there.
Yeah, you can totally recreate that exact chord right there and really dissect it and figure it out. And I bet you there's even online generators where you can type in every single note that's in that chord and it'll spit out and tell you exactly what kind of chord it is.
Oh yeah, there's some good little handy dandy chord finder stuff out there. So even like on guitar, like if you're sitting there trying to you know, play something and you've just added a note to this chord, but you don't really know what you've changed, or maybe you put a capo on the 4th fret and you want to know what that chord becomes.
Right.
Now. You're like, let me just type this in real quick, and they're actually really handy, man. I don't think they're like cheats or anything. I think it's helpful.
No, there's literally no cheating in this. Like you just do your process, and people will try to gatekeep and say it's cheating, but there is no cheating in all this.
Right? Yeah.
I was going to say, thank you for calling in. I got to jump to the final 2 calls because I have to get to the airport. Problem, and if I don't get to the airport, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the call, man. You know, I'll talk to you later in the future chat.
Thank you so much for calling in today, Junk Bishop, and always being here. Appreciate you.
All right, later, man.
Have a good one. Nikki Moss, bring you in. If people are confused about their role in the chat, meaning this one person that I'm looking at, I'm just catching a little bit of the chat, but just feel free to ban. Hi, Nikki Moss. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for calling in.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much for calling in. Oh, make sure you mute the stream though.
Right.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Greece. Actually.
Amazing. That's fantastic. What did you want to talk about today?
So I actually wanted to add something to the previous caller because like I heard how much he was struggling with music theory, and I just want to tell him from my personal experience, I actually found YouTube to be a great learning tool for all this, because I actually was taught music theory and I struggled with it in high school and I actually really hated it.
Yes.
But through YouTube lately, I have actually been discovering what a great tool music theory can be, and why we weren't taught music theory the way we should be in school, you know?
It's because the curriculum has been developed over centuries and they just don't update it. Like when I was learning theory, I was learning harmony and context was the name of my textbook. And it's all well and good to learn about voice lading and learn about it through the lens of classical music, but it absolutely made me hate music theory. It didn't apply to any of the music that I was making, really. I mean, some core concepts did, of course, but there's a way better way to teach it. But do you have any specific resources you want to point people towards for learning theory on?
Right. So I actually really like Sideways on YouTube, or 12th Tone, or Adam Neely. He's been
Nice.
doing some amazing things,
Yeah.
which they open up your mind to music theory in a way I actually have never thought about, you know?
They make it really interesting. Adam Neely has that great talk from Loop a couple years ago where he talks about rhythm and how its relation to pitch, and he plays certain rhythms and then speeds them up, and you realize when you take certain rhythms and you speed them up, it makes a pitch, and it's all math, and it's crazy. And it made me, somebody who hates math and science, like that kind of sciencey stuff, my brain doesn't work like that. It made me like super interested, and I thought it was super cool.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And they actually teach you a lot of music history in relation to everything you're learning on in the theory. So it actually makes more of a coherent lesson. I don't know, instead of just pointing things out individually, you know?
I agree. Totally.
So yeah, that's actually where I'm getting started too. I'm actually very new to producing, and it's silly calling it producing. I'm just messing around.
Well, no, you're producing. You can call it that. No matter where you are, you're starting producing. Like, that's totally fine. Call it that.
I want to buy a MIDI controller now, and I actually have a digital piano which I use to record MIDI. I don't know. And I want to thank you actually, because during quarantine, I discovered your channel and you taught me so much about MIDI.
That's
and
awesome.
I didn't even know what the difference between an audio recording and a MIDI recording was. You cleared that up for me. Thank you.
That's great. That's amazing to hear. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes I put videos out and I don't know if anybody's learning anything from it, but it's good to know, to hear it.
No, really. Thank you.
What MIDI controller are you going to buy?
I was thinking the Arturia, the Mini Lab, because actually because of the DAW, the Ableton Live Lite, because I don't know how to use any DAW, so anything would be new to me. But I feel like from your recommendations and everything, it would be a better choice.
I think it's a great choice.
Digital instruments. I don't know, because, well.
Do you want to spin the wheel for fun, Nikki? Should we spin the wheel just for fun? Do you know what the wheel is?
Okay, let's do it.
Now, now I will. You're free from the legal obligation because you already seem to have a very good idea. But let's just see. What if we spin it and it lands on MIDI Lab? Wouldn't that be great?
It's gonna be fate.
It's gonna be fate. Well, I'm just gonna give it a spin and we'll see what can happen. Because why not? It's fun. Oh, that was a janky spin. I'm gonna spin it again because that was a rough spin. All right, here we go. Real spin. That was a better spin. This thing's going off the rails a little bit. Oh, and you got cat piano, Nikki. So I think if that tells us anything, I think that tells us that the Arturia Mini Lab is for you. Because we know,
thank you.
Because we know you're not going to get the cat piano. We know that you're more of a dog person and not a cat person.
Obviously.
That's great. Hey, I think that's smart though, because you're thinking about the software. You're smart to say, hey, I don't know any DAW, so what does it matter? Like, you're pretty much right. But if you can get Ableton Live for free and you're watching a lot of people use Ableton Live, I would say that's a good choice. And then also with the Arturia sounds, I think it's a great choice for you, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. So actually generally I was never more so much about the producing part, more of I actually sing and I play the piano. So that is, I'm more music than tech. And I never actually thought producing would be something I would be interested in. But after browsing YouTube and the algorithm has brought me in this whole community these past few months.
Well, hey, that's what brought me into music production, because I really wanted to. I was a singer-songwriter and I really wanted to record my own songs and build up my vision that way. So you're on the right path for sure. You'll be like recording your own songs and stuff in no time.
Right. And listening to your background with the trumpet and music tool and everything, it makes it really interesting, you know.
For sure. For me. You never know what path you could go down, you know. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Nikki, thank you so much for calling in. I hope you call in again soon.
Thank you.
And let us know. Okay, keep me posted on MIDI controller and all that stuff. Tweet at me or comment on my Instagram. Keep me updated. All that.
Of course I will. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you so much for calling in. Have a good one. Rasheen, close us out here. Here we go. We got Rasheen coming in. Here we go. A lot of chat today. Hi, Rasheen. Maybe, perhaps Rasheen is here.
Hello, can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, got you. How are you today?
What is happening?
Oh, I hear you, but you can't hear me.
Okay, there it is.
Perfect. How are you today?
I fixed my output. That was the problem.
Awesome. Welcome. What do you want to talk about today?
I just had one question, and it shouldn't be too long. It was along the lines of like, and I'm sure this process has changed for you as you've been a producer, but like finishing tracks and like getting more stuff out. Like I've been sort of getting into that rhythm, but I've been just curious, like what's been your process, or how have you gone about like just deciding like what is done and what you put out? Because like I make music every day, right, just to keep that habit up, but
yeah.
I don't do it saying like, I'm making this because I want to put out this. I just keep building the muscle and just keep doing it, and what comes out I then decide, oh, I can flush this out and it sounds like this, and then I'll put it out. That's been how I've been thinking about things lately.
Yeah. And that's totally fine too.
Like your thoughts on that.
Yeah, because sometimes not every project is meant to be released for sure. Like sometimes it's just an experiment. Sometimes it's just honing skills. Sometimes it's just for you because it's fun, So like not every project has to come out. But for me, you've probably seen me working in arrangement view a lot more lately, pretty much exclusively, which that gets me so much closer to having stuff done, because I think I used to try to force myself to work on projects in one sitting. And then if I didn't finish a project in one sitting, who knows if I would go back to it. But it's a lot easier to go back to a project that already has some stuff laid out on the timeline than it is to go back to a session view project and then you're so much further away from the finish line at that point. Mm-hmm. So working on arrangement view has very much helped me because it gets me thinking linear, which is the thing that we end up releasing, a linear track. Getting better at mixing because I'm more confident in the way my tracks sound. So I'm more likely to release them if I'm more confident in how they sound. And then the thing that I've been doing with the track, the thing at the end of the month, which you've come to some of those streams, right? Like I take all the tracks and I review them. All the tracks that I made in a month, I go through the whole folder and then I sort them. That is getting me even closer because now it's an interesting exercise because I have to figure out time-wise, okay, now when do I go back and actually finish those? Because a lot of the streams are like making stuff from scratch. But for anybody who doesn't know, every month I review all of the music that I made in the month, open every single project, and I either consider finishing it. So I mark it green as I might finish this track. I should finish this track because it's pretty good. And then I put it in a folder based on its genre. And actually what it's helped with, Rasheen, I'll say, is now that I've been making beat videos every week, that's kind of like my main way of releasing music. I do that more than Spotify, and I actually enjoy it. I make a lo-fi beat video. And now instead of every time I want to sit down and make a video, I don't have to make a beat from scratch. I already have beats made. So I take those beats and the music ideas are already there, and I recreate those for the video. So that has actually helped me so much with keeping this regular video upload schedule, which there'll be another one up tomorrow. And like, yeah, it's just like at the end of the month, just look at all the music that you've worked on, sort it, check something off as like, yes, this is good to finish, or not everything is, like we already talked about. And then you actually know, okay, hey, I've got 4 projects I can pull from if I really am dying to release something, or if I really need a piece of content or whatever it is. Like, and I have stuff now in that good stuff folder. I have stuff that dates back to January, and we're in April. So like I can keep going back to that folder and keep finishing stuff, or if an artist asks for a song, or if I get an opportunity or something, I can go back to that folder and pull something rather than feeling like in that moment I am like having to come up with something on the spot or something. So it's just like this infrastructure and organization around like actually figuring out what do I have that's worth finishing, and it's all there in one place now.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, I should try doing the month review. Like what I've been doing recently is just keeping a spreadsheet because I date everything and sometimes I forget what the vibe of the track was. So this been putting a spreadsheet together of like, this was the type of beat I made that day. But yeah, I should go back and like at the end of the month and look how far along I got and what is worth continuing to flush out so I can like put it out in some capacity.
Yeah, because some of them are like, okay, this one is so close to being done. Why wouldn't I just finish it? Versus like a project that's like, okay, this was just a couple loops. But once you have that project file, they're like, okay, this was literally so close. I might as well just take one more day and finish it or something like that. You know, like being able to see it that way. Because I literally forget about the music that I make by the end of the month. So that's another reason I like doing this this review thing at the top of the next month, because I actually go back and go, oh, wait, this was actually pretty good. And it's almost like I'm not experiencing it for the first time, obviously, but I'm listening to it with fresh enough, objective enough ears to make like a decent judgment call. It's not like I just finished working on it and I have certain feelings about it. It's like I forgot that I even made it, and now I can sort of like genuinely react to it and feel how I want to feel about it. So give yourself the opportunity to forget about the music that you're making, I think, but then give yourself the opportunity to remember it and like actually like react to it.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's just like working on a track at night and then listening to the mix in the morning and realize how far off or how far on you were. But it's that across the course of a month, like your ears are even more refreshed after that amount of time, you know?
Yeah, I definitely have gone back to a track and been like, why did I pick this bass sample?
Yeah. And it's crazy, but like that knowledge, that having that thought about like, why did I pick this bass sample gives you a direction, because it knows you're like, okay, I'm going to pick you know what you don't like, which very much helps you decide what you do like, what direction you should have gone. It's just as important as understanding what you like. Yeah.
Agreed. Thanks.
Thank you so much for calling, Rasheen, and thank you for the support, always showing up at the streams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love all the content. It's a great community.
I appreciate it. I'm going to keep it coming, and the community keeps growing, so that's good. Thank you so much, Rasheen. I appreciate your time.
Take care.
Have a good one. All right, my friends, that is it for the calls today. What a great call-in show this was. We went over 2 hours. This is what I suspected. And what a way to close out the show with a new member.
Welcome, Ernie Jameson,
to the member squad. Thank you so much for becoming a VIP member. As a VIP member, you get access to the Space Sample Pack free in the community tab, and you'll get access to the members only live stream coming up. But thank you so much for becoming a member. This was a great call-in show, everybody. Sorry I had to rush a little bit at the end here. We'll do one again soon. We might even do one next week if I'm being honest. Please check out 343 Labs. It's an electronic music production school based in New York, Berlin, and online if you want to do a deep dive and if you're not pretending to learn music production, as we talked about at the top of the stream. If you tuned in late, please rewind. I think there was a lot of great stuff going on with the calls and everything today. It's just one of our best call-in streams for sure. But hey, well, Ed, I'm not going on the plane. I'm just picking up my folks from the airport. SDK, thank you for that super chat, by the way. I can't remember if I said that or not. But I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you to all the new members. Thank you to all the tried and true members. I love seeing your emblems evolve. And thank you to everybody else who just watched and just enjoyed. Really, really appreciate it. We will do another call-in soon. I'm here live every Tuesday, so please tune in next Tuesday. But also, I will be live again on Thursday on my channel, so get ready for that. We're going to be making some beats on Thursday. Justin Beck, Lewis Beck, will be live tomorrow on the 343 Labs channel, talking all about reverb and delay and time-based effects. So if you really want to watch a music production stream tomorrow, go to youtube.com/343labs, watch with Lewis Beck and be like, hey, Lewis Beck's really smart. I should take a course with him. And then you'll be like, oh, he teaches a course at 343 Labs. This is perfect. I'm just saying. It's a little something like that. Could work. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. This has been TAETRO for 343 Labs. Have a good one.